This is a surprise. Welcome to the worst Wednesday stream ever. Um, Today we're just gonna be watching some YouTube and hanging out for a little bit. And yeah, so we're gonna do. So I'm gonna start streaming today, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and that's how I'm gonna try to do it. Unless there's a scheduling problem. Um, from now on, expect more consistent streaming from me. And then, without further ado, so we're gonna watch some YouTube videos. First off, we're gonna start off with some current event stuff, like it's recently happened, and then a little bit of spooky, and then a little bit of like sports stuff here and there. And of course, first we'll start off with uh, the one of the NBA divas I can't stand, James Harden. Uh, Again, no showed at practice today and everything. And I mean, the guy had 9 points in a game seven, and like, dude, you want to go to the Clippers, who Kawhi Leonard has held hostage for 4 years, um, like consistently. He can barely play 2 games. The load management stuff. I mean, I get it. If he's hurt, he's hurt. But like, don't finesse the team. If you're holding the team back, retire. But yeah, no, I'm tired of those NBA divas. Kyrie, KD, James Harden, Ben Simmons, Zion Williamson, and John Morant, and AD. AD's got to prove himself this year that he can still go. But anyway, enough about me. Listen to us. Someone else's take on this. Commissioner Dynamo uploaded a video today about this exact thing about James Harden skipping practice.
I shouldn't do it. So Duck Dynasty didn't show up for practice. Shocking, I know. He was last sighted in Houston. Is this guy Bigfoot? Like, is he a myth? Is he even real? Do you have to say James Harden in the mirror 3 times in order for him to show up? He wasn't here today. So obviously I think he probably had something important to do or something came up. Yeah, something came up and down the strip pole. This may be an AI photo, but it's not too far from the truth.
When I got traded here, my whole thing was I wanted to retire at 60.
Yeah.
Front office didn't have that in their future plans.
What's going on? What are you talking about? You sound insane.
Like it's literally out of my control. Something I didn't want to have in the assistant manager's position. But I got to make a decision for my family. I understand this is a business. You know what I mean? So it's just as simple as that.
Covering this man makes my blood pressure go up. This man is single-handedly lowering my life expectancy. A week or so change ago, Stephen A. said he had some sources
back-to-back
that
streams.
informed him
Wednesday,
James
Thursday,
Harden
Friday,
talked
and
himself out of
We're
a
gonna try
mass
doing
deal.
that more.
Now, Stephen A. sources can sometimes be
On
as
that
reliable as
scheduling
intel on
conflict.
weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, but far more credible people have corroborated this. A mass deal with Houston, not the 76ers, with Houston, was not only reachable, but feasible. Harden was about to achieve checkmate, but that wasp's nest in his head made him flip the chessboard over. After they acquired Ime Udoka in Houston, they were open to James Harden coming back. But this man had the audacity, the nerve, the unmitigated gall to state to not only Ime Udoka but the front office, I'm trying to be Houston's all-time leader in points. Visual aid for you all with Houston's all-time leaderboard. James Harden sits in second place to Hakeem Olajuwon. Really look and absorb this list. numbers. This man would have to score or average about 2,000 points year to year in order to even make this even halfway attainable. So does this mean reverting Houston back to a D'Antoni offense where it's just Harden 24/7, everything runs through him 365? Ruin the development of up-and-coming players on the roster, stunt the growth of current players who are on the rise, all for what? Glazing? And if you listen to what Harden said in this interview, he talked about lofty morals of family, backed by his professional acumen and what he's done in the past. Not now. Now he only made some mentions of, I worked my butt off today. What exactly did you do? You showed up after having not done so for X amount of days and weeks. And the only reason he did show up was to not get fined. I gotta calm down. A reporter then asks him, well, do you still want to be traded? And he says, oh, you have to talk to the front office about it. What? Is the front office you? Or are you them? Do you have pronouns now, Harden? Does your beard identify as a person as well? Are you multiple people in one? What does the front office have to do with you yourself stating that you want to be traded? So, given that impression, you're telling me that if they don't want you to be traded, you're just going to what? Sit at home, make money doing nothing, maybe hang out with little baby, a couple days of the week or two. And I believe he's fully prepared to do that by any means necessary to leave and somehow facilitate a trade to the Clippers. And the Clippers are high on asbestos. For them to even still somewhat consider this as being wantable. It's not a word, it is now. Why they would want to put James Harden and Russell Westbrook on the same team despite everybody in the universe knowing when they were in Houston it didn't work. And somehow I think it would work now is beyond me. Yes, Kawhi and Paul George are on that team, but you're going to have James Harden either in the second unit along with Russ. What's Russ's role if James Harden's there? And then how do they intermingle on the court? How do they not create turnovers together? How does James Harden help you defensively? None of these things make sense. I just see it as the Clippers desperate, stacking the deck to somehow keep themselves relevant when they know that they failed to do anything that anyone expected them to do. And they think, hey, we just keep adding pieces or something on vet minimums, or we just hoard a bunch of players we can, even though they don't mesh properly, along with a low management duo being Kawhi and Paul George. We'll figure it out. No, you're not. You won't. Of course, James Harden would probably maybe be the starting point guard, but he just doesn't give you really anything defensively. And in terms of dependence and availability and dedication, I sure as hell wouldn't take him over Russ. Russ is a turnover machine, but I at least know what I'm going to get out of Russ. James Harden, on top of not being dependable, miserable, and flaky, will slowly fade into oblivion on the team. Because once blame starts to get thrown, you're going to see him just make a backdoor exit. Somebody who wants to go to a team that isn't a playoff contender, has no championship hopes for the next few years in the current iteration of the Houston Rockets, even though they are on the rise, and I think they're building something great there, doesn't care about winning. To make your ill intentions known up front, before you can even get in the door, before you can even put your name on the dotted line, and expect Houston to just say, oh, shucks, Harden, you drive hard bargain. We're going to sign you right back in. Why? Based off past glory? I have no qualms with the player going back to their original team just for a heartfelt goodbye. But Harden wanted to go there with the intent purpose of being the guy again. And he hasn't been the guy in years. This would be almost similar to...
Literally, the last time James Harden was in his prime, or was that guy, was back in 2018 when he was competing with Giannis for the MVPs. But, yeah, no, I can't stand the NBA media team, the Divas, Kyrie, KD, James Harden. They're always in the news crying, wanting a trade, wanting max deals, wanting this coach fired, wanting this, tweeting that. using a burner account to defend themselves when they're the ones that made that bet. You got to lie in it. And then Ben Simmons, he never wants to play. He's afraid to play. And then Zion making poor decisions with women, and then John Moran making poor decisions with people he's hanging associated with, and then Kawhi, who's just what he's doing too is just not cool either with the Clippers. I mean, I'm not even a Clippers fan. I can't stand the Clippers, but what he's doing to them the past 4 seasons has just been disgusting to watch.
If Dwayne Wade went back to the Miami Heat, Harden at this moment in time isn't as bad or diminished as Wade was towards the tail end of his career. But if I'm the Houston Rockets, I would far more prefer a player who's diminished, who's an all-time great in Wade, isn't quite what he used to be, but is a great locker room presence and can provide excellent tutelage to my new players, than somebody who's coming here to control everything as he did before, be the end-all, be-all of the team, and lose and not go anywhere. Because in that Dwayne Wade situation, I may not be competitive in getting somewhere in the playoffs, but at least I'm building towards something. With Harden, they be tearing down the foundation that they were able to quickly build these past few years. And all for what? To make him feel better about himself? No, never. I remember the Lakers gave Kobe in the back end of his career a somewhat sizable extension, and some people looked at them a little bit weird. Max Kellerman was saying, "Oh, they should have traded him." But I think the fans and the team, as well as the front office, they understood what Kobe did for them, and he put them on as an organization in ways that hasn't really been seen since Magic. And this is like a restitution. Here you go, Kobe. Thank you so much for your service. Does Harden deserve that? Especially with the way he left and how he conducted himself as he left? No, I'm not going to extend you that courtesy. You'll get nothing from me but a swag left.
He cares about.
You want to talk about jersey retirement and stuff in the future? That can be on the table. I know that was a community poll that I made some months ago, and people weren't too sure. It was a little bit back and forth. That's something entirely different. But in terms of me granting you asylum here and tenure on this team, paying you an absorbent amount to do nothing, and at times play half-hearted basketball, no. This is just a pathetic display all around. And we're going to have to make more videos about it, because I know it's only going to get worse before it gets better. So thank you for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe if you're new. Harden, will you be there for the opener against Milwaukee?
I'm not gonna be here.
All right. So, obviously, you see the title. Also, shout out to the homie The Chisel Adonis, man. Anyway, this is the next current event. I mean, what's her name? The Smith family again is trending in the news. Jada again continues to just disrespect, belittle, and disrespect Will, and Will just lets her do it. And I can't stand her. But here we go. Shout out to the homie Chisel too, man.
Over the course of the past 2 weeks, it appears that we cannot escape Jada Pinkett Smith, Will Smith, the entire Smith family. It's starting to get ridiculous, but it's primarily Jada because everybody else is just getting tied into her bullshit. But one way or another, I constantly went out on a limb and stated I couldn't care less about what transpires in celebrity gossip, celebrity marriages, celebrity relationships, whatever the case is, because it has no bearing on my life. However, when I get constant messages, or I have to see this information come across my desk, I feel compelled to have talk about it. However, I have a little bit of a different take. At the conclusion of everything, I'll tell you why. And initially, what I was going to do was a full 20, 30-minute breakdown, similar to what I did with the August Alsina entanglement situation 3 years ago. If you never saw the video, I have it in the topic comment. Also, in one of the eye cards over, I think it's my left shoulder on your, but whatever the case just so happens to be. I'm going to keep it relatively brief, right? Summarize my thoughts in the best possible way that I know how. First and foremost, Jada Pinkett Smith is an absolute hypocrite. She's a liar, manipulator, whatever the case may be. But, I mean, just preferences. Will Smith is a grown adult. So, despite the fact I have a bit of sympathy for him, these are the consequences for your decisions of not only wedding this woman, but
She's a
remaining
monster,
with
too.
this woman for the long haul, which I'm pretty sure they decided to do so because that divorce settlement would be rather hefty. So it's cheaper to keep her, as they say. Nevertheless, right? Let's just debunk a couple of things that Jada Pinkett Smith just said.
If I had a girlfriend, a wife, or life partner, if I ever had a woman like Jada in my life, I would immediately cut her to the curb. I would immediately stand my ground. I would either break up with her or kick her to the curb because I'm not going to let you disrespect me and get on a panel and then talk shit about me. I mean, say whatever you want about me. I mean, you have your own opinion, and I'm fine with that. But like the moment your woman starts disrespecting you like that, you gotta get out of there. Like, well, I get it. You're doing it for your kids, but your kids are grown now too. You can leave that evil bitch where she lies. Cause, dude, I mean, and then you sacrificed your 20-year friendship with Chris Rock with the slap too, just for this chick who continues to belittle, berate, and disrespect you, and that's disgusting, man. It's disgusting.
Don't have to say, right? And if you need me to link sources, I can go ahead and do that. I'm still debating whether or not I want to throw them into the editing because I'm pretty sure a number of people have seen it. So one way or another, feel free to Google if I happen to throw those sources up in there. Nevertheless, she stated that her and Will Smith were separated since 2016. I think that's bullshit because anybody who saw the Red Table Talk episode with her and Will when they were conversating about the entanglement, there was a point in which she was talking about her and Will being separated at the time in which this entanglement happened, and Will had said they were separated then. When you say then, that now shows this is past tense. So that being the case, either you're no longer together or you're still together. There's no separation because you said you were separated then. That would now say that you're together. So you saying, oh, well, we've been separated since 2016, absolute lunacy. You're lying. Furthermore, she said the reason why they were separated and never said anything was they didn't figure out a way in which they could come public with the information and feel comfortable with them coming public. Also, I think that's absolute horseshit. Why is that? Because over the course of the past few years, the Red Table Talk has been what? Jada, her mother, her daughter, whatever the case just so happened to be, airing out what many would consider dirty laundry. Moreover, whatever particular kind of traumas they dealt with, where they are emotionally, whatever the case is, they talked about a bevy of different topics that, for all intents and purposes, now granted, I can't determine what the level of sensitivity and information they felt, inclined to disclose. I can't be the one who delineates what is, considered the highest particular level. But announcing and coming public, talking about what would be considered an affair, or in Jada's terms, an entanglement, that's fair game. But you being separated is not. I call bullshit on that. Furthermore, if you remember in a different episode of the Red Table Talk, where it was Willow, Jada and Will's daughter, and also Jada Pinkett Smith's mother, alongside Jada herself, speaking about her wedding day, Jada went out of her way to specify that she didn't actually want to have a wedding. Furthermore, she cried the entire day. The only reason in which they got married was because Jada was pregnant with Jada. So, that would now beg the question, did she even want to be with Will? I'll answer that for you. No, she didn't. Because she's gone out of her way to disclose that Tupac, the deceased Tupac Shakur, was her soulmate. Now, why is this relevant? I'll tell you even more why it's relevant. Because she also disclosed recently that Tupac proposed to her while Tupac was in prison. Well, that's interesting. Because over the course of the past 26 years, Jada Pinkett Smith has gone out of her way to defend that there were no particular kind of romantic relations or emotions as pertains to a relationship between her and Tupac. It was more along the lines of them being friends. So now, why would you feel the need to go and say he?
Yeah, see, if Tupac was alive, I bet you she'd try to berate him too. But Tupac wouldn't have taken it like Will Smith is. Tupac would have given it right back to her, even worse. I'm just saying, like, dude,
Proposed while he
I'm
was
like
in
this stuff,
prison.
bro.
Moreover, if I'm not mistaken, Tupac was engaged at the time in which he was in prison. Somebody got to check and let me know in the comments section. But that's neither here nor there. One way or another, that would now call into question everything Jada has disclosed for the past 25 years regarding her relationship with Tupac. You stated that this man was your soulmate. Moreover, you declined the proposal from when he was in prison. So essentially, you friend zoned Tupac. And I think what we can deduce from all this information is she's living the remainder of her life regretting the fact that she either A, didn't say yes, or B, he passed and now you'll never know what that experience may have been like. Furthermore, I conspiracy theorist myself. This has nothing to do with transpire with Jada Pinkett Smith. I think Tupac may just mess around and still be alive. I think he took up an alias as a Babakor Barry, as a Ivory Coast goalkeeper. Take a look at the
I
Ivory Coast
wish you
goalkeeping,
and
goalkeeping team. Take a look at the Ivory Coast national team in 2012. Take a look at their goalkeeper. You can't tell me that ain't Tupac. We ain't talking about that right now. Jada Pinkett Smith also, this is one of the things that makes her a terrible human being, went out of her way to disclose the fact that Tupac was not very comfortable disclosing the fact that he had alopecia. Now, this has nothing to do with her relationship with Will, but where the hell do you get them? Coming forward and talking about it. If Tupac didn't feel comfortable talking about it, why are you? Tupac's past, his mother's past. Now, you think it's free reign to talk about somebody having alopecia? Man, what is the problem with you? She's a textbook narcissist. Legend has it this is the one bullet that Tupac actually dodged.
True.
Right? Here's the biggest
I don't
problem
want
that
to
I
say,
have with
but he
Jada
had
Pinkett
to say.
Smith and this entire situation. And this is truly what my take on the whole thing is. You're being had, you're being duped. This is no different than what we saw earlier in the year with Keke Palmer. It's a publicity stunt. You're in a situation in which all of the clicks that are coming in, think about it. When the Red Table Talk had initially dropped with her talking about the entanglement with Will, if I'm not mistaken, that's the highest viewed episode that they had. Moreover, over the course of the past 3 years, the damage that was done to Will Smith's reputation. But for Jada, it's like, oh, well, she's evil. It's done nothing. She's still been able to sit down, have her show. She's still been able to generate clicks. There's countless different blog sites or, social media locations that just don't happen to relate. Jada has revealed, and people will flock to send comments. So, with all that being the case, everybody's doing duped. And there's one last thing in which she disclosed, and I think I got to call bullshit on. She said Chris Rock had hit on her, moreover, invited her out for a date, or I should say, attempted to set up a date with her amid rumors of a possible divorce. Years in the past, Jada shot him down, saying, no, those are just rumors, and then ultimately...
See, there it is. The self-entitled, narcissistic women I can't stand. Turn me off. Like, dude, touch grass. Like, get off that pedestal that you're on because, like, her first, she's talking, obviously, again, talking shit about Will. She's making comments about Tupac, saying that he wanted to marry her when, I mean, yeah, they probably did date a few times, but, like, he wasn't with you at the end, was he? And then, what's his name? Chris Rock? Dude, Chris Rock literally can't stand you. You don't want him. You literally uh, refuse to go to his shows because he stays flaming you because that's what you deserve. And I can only think of if Tupac was still alive, he would have given it right back to you and 1,000 times worse and everything. But yeah, dude, like, why do they still give this woman any kind of platform to say her piece. Like, dude, she's the original Mariah Mills. And Will, like Zion, is being stupid and still staying in there when he should just get out. Get out. Leave while you still have that. So have self respect for yourself, dude. You gotta know when it's time.
At that particular point, he was apologetic and backed off with it. I think that's horseshit. Why? Because why would you wait until now to now go and disclose this? Moreover, remember when the whole Oscar situation happened and Will slapped, Chris Rock? Given Jada's information, they would have been separated at that time. Jada specified she was shocked that Will referenced her as his wife. I call horseshit there. Right? Because in countless different appearances in which they had together since 2020 up until said Oscars, whenever they were together, they referenced each other as husband and wife. It's well documented. So why does she continue to lie? But more furthermore, I would highly doubt this happened to be the case because when they did a Red Table Talk sit down and it was Jada talking about how everybody has to come together and heal. Everybody has to, take a look in the mirror and reflect as to why, we're having this particular kind of experience.
They need to get
She
together and
didn't feel
cancel your
comfortable
ass.
disclosing it then,
Off.
but here's the big kicker. You feel comfortable disclosing this when you're releasing a tell-all book of your entire life. Furthermore, the entire Smith family is together unified when she received the samples of the book.
Thank you guys for being so supportive.
Absolutely.
You're being led astray. You're being hoodwinked, bamboozled by this human jinzo straight out of Yu-Gi-Oh! Let me tell you something right now, right? The fact that all of them are all smiles, they're all congregated around each other. They've never even once acknowledged what is transpiring with social media. Moreover, Jada's going on an entire press run talking about this situation, saying everything under the sun that can generate all kinds of clicks. Moreover, if you take a look at the comment section of the countless different podcasts that she's been on, the countless different interviews that she's been on, you see a bevy of different individuals excited about the release of the book because it's going to give them the juicy details that they've been desperately looking forward to. This is all money grab. You're being had, okay? I personally believe they're happily married. And let's just say they're separated. They're still operating as if they're together. I say all of this to say, perhaps Will Smith is in on it because he's leveraging his celebrity and probably gave Jada clearance to drag this man's name through the mud because at the end of the day, given that they are indeed a union, this benefits him with the sales of the book, despite his reputation being absolutely dragged through the mud. Perhaps he no longer even cares because Will doesn't even seem to be operating with a bit of microcosm of any form of ego outside of when he slapped Chris Rock up the face.
I still feel like that was also publicity stunt too, because Chris leaned in for
My
that.
take on the entire situation is very similar to what we saw earlier in the year with Kiki Palmer. You're in a situation in which you think you're seeing something that is unfolding before your eyes, and now you have a bunch of think pieces that have now come out, only to find out on the back end, the parties who you thought had conflict and issue are together. So I say all that to say, with Jada, despite the fact that I do believe that she's a liar, a narcissist, a manipulator.
Absolutely.
Now, and do I have high level of sympathy for Will? I have a small microcosm of sympathy for Will because you're a grown adult. This is simply the consequences of your emotional actions. But nevertheless, I believe all those things about Jada Pinkett Smith. However, I refuse to be caught in this genjutsu because it just seems like she's generating all of this attention in an effort to sell her book. All I can tell you is, hey, if you're interested in that, feel free to go buy her book. If you couldn't care less, don't buy her book, don't give it any attention. But me personally, let's just say all of this is legitimate. And if any of us were Will, you might just be sending crates upon crates of orange juice to Jada Pinkett Smith's front door to let her know what time it is. Perhaps you may turn on a Buffalo Bills game. and stream it all day. Maybe Bills games from the 70s. One way or another, if I was Will Smith, I would have immediately told Jada Pinkett Smith, pack up your bags, I'll pay whatever particular kind of settlement, one time that I get paid, and then you move forward. But overall, release yourself from the genjutsu of Jada Pinkett Smith.
Yep.
This is no different
Not
than
even
what we've
pretty
seen
either.
throughout all of the years. It's a money grab. I would love to sit over here and do a whole breakdown and all this other stuff. What's the purpose? Because at the end of the day, if she wasn't selling something, I don't think she'd be having this conversation.
Absolutely.
The initial situation with the entanglement and everything else, it was to drive clicks to her Red Table Talk show on Facebook that was generating millions upon millions of dollars, with the millions upon tens of millions upon hundreds of millions of views that they generated. Now, she's selling a book that's going to generate all kinds of thousands upon tens of thousands upon hundreds of thousands, possible millions of dollars. She's selling you something. She's a salesman. A snake oil saleswoman. All right? One way or another, don't fall from the genjutsu of Jinza. That's all I got to say about that. But again, if I was Will, I'd call in the cavalry. Chris!
Oh no.
Cut that bitch off!
Wait a minute, it's fall season, and you know what that means. It's officially sweater weather, and I have
Hey, shout out to the homie Chisel. He couldn't have said it better, man. And then now to like move on to like something now it's kind of funny, but then just before we get into some of the scary stuff, as you can see, we have the history of Terrifier the Clown, of Art the Clown. So we're gonna react to that after we watch this RDC clip. Shout out to RDC too. They just released their Dark Lights manga on RDC's website, and praying but nothing but love for them. Hoping they go far too, man. I mean, they're they're the ones that inspired me to start doing this too.
Bro, dude, stop showing that, bro.
What's it moving like that?
No,
Right? Y'all trying the camera?
And whatever the problem is.
Smart ass. Look at that smart ass.
Thank you, Ev.
What's good? Oh, the acronym. Tell immediately.
It's dark as fuck. What?
Whoa!
Whoa!
I'm talking about the camera. Keep brighten it up. This color
Like dark shit is really showing today.
What the f did you just say?
I just see
Color racist.
the camera light.
Damn! 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 Fuck him up! He said what he said! There it is! Yeah! Damn! What the fuck you talking about? We don't fuck with that shit. What says? We don't fuck with that. Yo, y'all good, man. You know what, man? Much love, bro. I know how it be, man. Them intrusive thoughts, right? Type shit.
They just put it right back like that. What happened?
What's the problem? Just, it's still. Damn! What the Stinking ass! Why is there a problem? Why is there a problem? It's a problem. It's a whole nother problem. Yeah, pull that foot. There it is. Yeah. Oh my God. Not him feeding that nigga.
I'm just saying, F, I feel like you can do better. What? What's the problem? He questioned the ass camera skills?
Again.
Is that a left hand?
Right
Is that a problem?
again.
The camera looks good.
What? This is good to you? What's the problem? Are we just talking? Are we just talking a little bit or some shit? Is it hella close or something?
Shout out
One
to
Halloween night,
All right.
23rd.
So yeah, no, we're gonna react to Art the Clown. Shout out to this guy's channel too. And it's actually very insightful. I enjoy it too. And of course, everyone, the Terrifier is quite possibly the new It scary slasher, like the new It scary slasher, like what Freddy was and Jason and what they were all in the 80s, and then Candyman and Ghostface in the 90s is what Art the Clown is now, because I've seen the movies too, and I don't get scared at these scary movies, but like the gore that, and this started just from like small YouTube videos that they did, like many like high school project videos that were just amazing. Like, I mean, the gore, yeah, it's a little gross. So if you have like a weak stomach, encourage you to skip this part of the video. But since we are in the Spooktober month, um, this feels necessary. And then if you're just joining us, welcome. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 50 subs, and the early bird gets the worm. What that means is the first 50 gets the first crack at song requests for me to DJ at a party, like on stream, to celebrate the first milestone of bringing this community together and being part of the worst stream ever by the 100% real, 100% Greek, 100% silly, but no BS taken. The Greek one, the DJ Be Silly, yeah. And be a brave soul. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. And of course, if you miss my live streams here, they will be up on YouTube most likely tomorrow, or depending on YouTube with copyright claims and everything. But nonetheless, um, we're gonna get started with this video again. If make sure to hit that subscribe button, and then make sure be a friend, tell a friend that this is the worst experience you ever had on Twitch and YouTube, and to come check it out for yourself. And at that note, I will shut my mouth and I will press play. Again, if you have a weak stomach, I encourage you to skip this part, but if you're a brave soul, welcome aboard.
Teen, a babysitter and the kid she's watching, return home from trick-or-treating and discover a mysterious VHS tape mixed in with their Halloween candy. The VHS tape contains 3 different short films with one common element. Each of them features a character that goes by Art the Clown. The first short is called The Ninth Circle, and the first time we see Art the Clown, he's creepily smiling at the camera in a montage where he's just one creepy clown amongst many demons, shadowy figures, and whatever this is. The first time we see Art in action, he appears seemingly out of nowhere to harass a young woman waiting for her train in Realmsville Station. The woman ignores Art, but as we will come to learn, Art the Clown isn't someone who can be easily ignored. He literally carries a bag of tricks around with him to get people's attention. After politely asking him to stop, she decides to ignore him, so he saddles up next to her and hands her a flower, which is crawling with bugs. Her terror makes Art laugh hysterically, but also silently. Then, as she tries to run away, Art injects her with a sedative and takes her prisoner. The horn honking, the silent laughter, and the involuntary injections will remain some of Art's signature moves throughout his existence, but there's a huge difference in this short compared to everything that follows. Here, Art is literally working on behalf of the devil. His victim wakes up alongside 2 other women in a dungeon filled with the aforementioned demons and hideous creatures. So, is Art a demon? It would seem so here, but later on, there are also indications that he might be a disturbed human gifted with some supernatural abilities. He feels pain and...
Hang on, I'm sorry, I gotta push pause real quick. Sorry. Make sure you subscribe to this channel too. CS World, um, his channel, and then we also, um, if you guys know, Dead Meat. Dead Meat's hilarious too. I mean, hilarious, but they're also fun to watch too, with their kill count. Shout out to James A. Janice and his wife. And anyway, and make sure you follow here CZS World. And I've subscribed, as you can see, and make sure you subscribe to them too. And then I will finally shut up, and I will press play.
And he does die, albeit temporarily. The VHS tape that appears in Little Timmy's Trick-or-Treating Hall is an anthology, which means that 3 separate semi-amateur filmmakers made short films that incorporated Art the Clown. If this is true, then he must be something of an urban legend in this world. He's a known entity, or a myth that people know about. So then who or what is Art the Clown? How can I analyze the history of a character who is left intentionally obtuse? We don't know where he comes from or what he's motivated by because he never speaks. He's just a horrendously violent, sometimes goofy clown who hides behind his face paint. Even he does not seem entirely sure what he's capable of. Lucky for me, I've analyzed a horror villain just like this before. Art isn't the first brutally violent, mysterious, and mute serial killer with an obscured face. That would be the original slasher, Michael Myers. In fact, Myers was also something of an urban legend in his town, where local children referred to him as the Boogeyman. But as we dig further into the Art the Clown character, you'll see that the similarities between Art and Michael go deeper than general mannerisms and overall perception. I think Art the Clown could be a Michael Myers for a new generation. To find out how, stick around to the end of this video. This video is sponsored by Factor. Welcome to Horror History, where you'll find fun little surprises in every bite. Today we are discussing Art the Clown from the Terrifier franchise. Art the Clown has evolved quite a bit over the years. Damien Leone, the creator of Art the Clown and the director of the Terrifier movies, claims that the idea for Art started with a creepy scene that he envisioned between a woman and a clown on a crowded bus. In this imagined scene, the rest of the passengers gradually exit the bus, leaving the clown alone to terrorize the woman. This idea evolved into the scene in the train station that we just talked about from The Ninth Circle. The Ninth Circle is not only the first short film featured in All Hallows Eve, it's also the first short film that Damien Leone made that featured Art the Clown back in 2008. Leone described his approach. I threw in everything. Clowns, witches, demons, monsters, everything up against the wall, hoping something would stick. Art the Clown certainly stuck, but if we want to understand what made him stand out, we should understand his inception. Leone has stated in interviews that he was very aware of Pennywise when he created Art the Clown. Leone knew he couldn't top Stephen King at Pennywise's particular brand of creepy clown, so he created Art to be the polar opposite. Pennywise has hair and round features, while Art is bald with gaunt features. Pennywise is colorful, Art is black and white. Pennywise speaks, Art does not. Pennywise doesn't use weapons, but Art will use any weapons he can get his hands on. Instead of copying him, he used Pennywise as a sort of anti-inspiration. However, that doesn't mean that there aren't any similarities between Art the Clown and Pennywise. There is a hitchhiker scene in Leone's 2011 Terrifier short film that reminds me a lot of the scene from the first It movie where Pennywise flags down a driver and asks, and there's even one scene where Art's eyes glow white, very reminiscent of Pennywise's deadlights. Whether intentional or not, there certainly is some crossover between these evil clowns. As far as appearances are concerned, Leone claims that Art the Clown's look was also partially inspired by a clown that appeared in his favorite TV show, The Twilight Zone, in an episode called 5 Characters in Search of an Exit. This clown doesn't chop anyone's limbs off, but he definitely looks somewhat similar to Art. Thankfully, Leone stopped short of giving Art a flower pot for a hat, but he does later try on these very stylish sunglasses. Audiences wanted more Art the Clown after The Ninth Circle, so Leone put him at the center of his 2011 short film, Terrifier. Leone put the short...
That would actually be cool if they do like a Freddy versus Jason, or Alien versus Predator, Art the Clown versus Pennywise movie, because like there's still a lot of ones that we wish that we would get to see, but unfortunately Robert Englund hung up the glove for Freddy. But one that I would have loved to see was Tony's and Candyman versus Robert Englund's Freddy Krueger in a versus movie. But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I know they did a reboot of the Candyman movie, and actually that one's actually pretty cool too. the originals and everything. But I'm gonna press play.
Short on YouTube where it got noticed by producer Jesse Badgett, who convinced Leone to put the Ninth Circle and the Terrifier shorts together with one other short in a horror anthology that eventually became All Hallows Eve. Art the Clown is the glue that holds All Hallows Eve together. His brutal acts of violence combined with Leone's expertise in special effects makeup helped the film stand out and garner demand for the feature-length Terrifier in 2016. This was one story, and it was Art's story from top to bottom, or I guess more appropriately, from bottom to top. If you've seen the movie, you know what I mean. The myth of Art the Clown continued to grow along with Leone's budget, and in 2022, Terrifier 2 really put Art the Clown and the entire franchise on the map. There's now a third Terrifier in the works, and Art has begun to pop up in popular culture. They've put his face on ugly Christmas sweaters, and he even made a cameo appearance on Pete Davidson's show, Bupkis. Art the Clown went from being an underground YouTube slasher to sharing an IMDb page with Edie Falco and Joe Pesci in the span of a decade. I think the secret to Art's growing popularity is the simplicity of the character. He's a creepy, horrendously violent clown dressed in black and white. We don't know much about him. He's a blank slate of a mute monster that only comes out on Halloween, putting him in the same camp as Michael Myers from the Halloween franchise. We don't know much about Michael Myers, except for the fact that he's the antagonizing force in Laurie Strode's life. However, it's this open-ended brand of evil that makes Michael versatile enough to tell a variety of different stories over the years. Halloween 2 is about dreams and nightmares. H2O is about avoidance and facing one's fears, and the most recent trilogy is about intergenerational trauma. If you attach too many specifics to a character like Michael Myers, it would limit the kinds of stories that can be told around him. Instead, his most defining characteristic is that he's brutal and evil, much like Art the Clown. Storytellers have done this for years. Before Michael Myers, characters like Dracula, Frankenstein, and the Invisible Man were used to tell all sorts of stories that reflected the culture of their time period. Outside of horror, there are characters like Mickey Mouse. The audience hardly knows anything about Mickey except for the fact that he's a friendly mouse that somehow owns a dog and has a girlfriend. Or is it wife? See, we don't even know that for sure. This allows Disney to do whatever they want with Mickey. He can star in Steamboat Willie, he can be used to tell a classic story like Three Musketeers, or he can be the centerpiece of something more experimental like Fantasia. Mickey Mouse is simply a delivery system for happy stories, the same way that Art the Clown is a delivery system for hyper-violence. See, they're the same. Mickey equal Art the Clown. So with all of this in mind, let's dig in and go over everything we do know about Art the Clown to start to unravel some of his mysteries. In order to do that, we've got to take it back to Halloween Nights 2013 and the rest of the content on that mysterious VHS. Art the Clown appears in all three of the short films on the VHS tape, and he slowly makes his appearance known in the home of the two kids, Tia and Timmy, much to the horror of their babysitter, Sarah. We've already covered most of what Art does to the woman on the train platform in the Ninth Circle, but there are a few more things that I want to point out. First, in this short, Art looks a little different. We can actually see the skin of his neck between his mask and his costume. This could be a minor thing or an oversight, but it does make Art initially seem more human. Art doesn't seem human for very long. Right after he injects the woman with a sedative that knocks her out, Art appears in a more demon-like form with lit-up eyes, the first and last time that we see him this way. After the scene on the train platform, Art doesn't show up again until the very end of the film, when he honks his horn yet again. Everything that takes place in the Ninth Circle, between the glowing eyes and the flashbacks of the horn honking, seems to take place in hell. This makes sense, because the Ninth Circle is a reference to Dante's Inferno, which is essentially a journey through the Nine Circles of hell, with the Ninth Circle being the deepest level where the devil resides. The devil actually makes an appearance and drinks the blood of a fetus in the short film. This begs the question, is Art the Clown a demon? If you only saw Art in this very first short film, you'd probably think so. There are allusions to angels and demons later on in Art's timeline, but overall this direct line to the devil is mostly abandoned. The connection to the devil, the glowing eyes, the imperfect costume, and the fact that Art is played by a different actor in these short films can all be chalked up to artistic license. Remember, the character in these shorts isn't literally the Art the Clown. They're just interpretations of the idea of Art the Clown, a character from urban legends. So the idea that Art is demonic could merely be a theory by this filmmaker.
See, it's just a scary movie. Let's watch it.
Yes, that's me. That's me. Also worth noting, Michael Myers was also interpreted to have occult origins in Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. The premise of this chapter in the Michael Myers story is that Michael was cursed as an infant by the demonic cult of Thorn, and that's why he must kill his own family. This wasn't a popular storyline, so that aspect was not included in future timelines. Art's direct link to the devil is also de-emphasized as the story progresses. He's evil enough without the devil, and as we're about to find out, he's got plenty of paranormal and supernatural abilities of his own. It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's Halloween season, which means it's also the most wonderful time of year in terms of food. Thanks in part to my sponsor. Sarah decides that the kids have had enough freaky videotape for one night and sends them to bed. The real Art proves that he's not limited to just the world of fiction by hiding in Tia's closet and freaking her out.
No, it's just make-believe.
demons, witches, monsters that doesn't exist.
But he wasn't really a monster if you think about it. Like a vampire or a werewolf. He was just a man in a costume. Someone like that could really exist, right? Like a serial killer, I mean.
This seems intentional. The suggestion that Art might be human actually makes him scarier in the real world. Sarah goes back downstairs to watch more of the videotape in what I assume is the one house in America that still had a VCR hooked up in 2013. I guess finding a DVD or Blu-ray in your Halloween candy isn't nearly as creepy. Maybe Art would have reached more people with a Blu-ray that just comes in a VHS box like these Stranger Things physical releases. At least that would explain why we have a VHS tape displaying video in widescreen. Anyways, the second short on the tape barely features Art the Clown at all. He's very much shoehorned into this story. Basically, at the beginning, a woman mentions her artist husband who painted a terrible face that earned him some attention in the art world. The husband claims that he must have been in some kind of trance when he painted the face because he doesn't remember doing it. Long story short, or rather, short film even shorter, when the painting of the terrible face is revealed at the end, it's Art the Clown doing his signature smiling face. The whole painting feels a little bit forced, but it's worth talking about because it introduces a different kind of supernatural element to Art's character. Can Art the Clown possess people like a demon? Does he possess the minds of artists exclusively? Could this be why he's named Art in the first place? This might seem like a little bit of a stretch, but this isn't the last time that Art will torture the mind of an artist. Back in the real world, Sarah is disturbed by Art's smiling face and turns the movie off. She hears something upstairs and assumes it's the kids, but when she goes to check on them, Timmy claims that they've been in bed the whole time and tells Sarah to stop checking on them every 5 minutes.
I heard you creeping around outside the door and turning the handle.
Again, we don't actually see Art in the house, but it's obvious that he's probably lingering around, and Sarah starts to get freaked out herself. If this terrified babysitter business seems familiar, it may be because Laurie Strode was babysitting Tommy Doyle and Lindsay Wallace when she first encountered Michael Myers in Halloween. Sarah's curiosity outweighs her fright, however, because she goes back downstairs to watch more of the tape. The third and final short film is the Terrifier short film from 2011. It's finally Art the Clown's time to take center stage. The first time we see Art in the short, he's getting kicked out of a gas station for supposedly smearing piss and shit all over the walls. Not the last time he would destroy a public restroom, and he notices a woman filling up gas as he walks away. Art looks slightly different here than he did in the Ninth Circle. His neck is no longer visible, his mask is longer and tied down with a collar of sorts, and he's got a more pronounced bump on his nose. Leone said that Art's new-looking Terrifier was intended to make him look more zombie-like and a little scarier. He also carries a much larger garbage bag. A little later, Art interrupts an interaction between the gas station attendant and the woman, who we learn is a costume designer. Art lures the attendant back inside the gas station to dismember and kill him. He's about halfway through beheading the guy when the costume designer stumbles into the scene and freaks out. And here it is, Art the Clown's very first documented act of horrific violence. Keeping up with our Michael Myers comparison, let's look back at his first murder as well. It also took place on Halloween, and Michael was wearing a clown costume, perhaps the most direct link between the two characters. The woman speeds away in her car and makes a frantic 911 call when she sees Art on the side of the road with a sign that says circus. She's right, that would be impossible, and this is her first piece of evidence that Art possesses supernatural abilities, in this case, teleportation. After nearly crashing her car in panic, Art appears again, but apparently his supernatural abilities don't include opening locked car doors.
Oh, we found a weakness. There you go. Get up and follow.
Art must have taken another victim earlier that night because the costume girl comes across another motorist who is dismembered and defaced, literally. The faceless driver looks very similar to some of the witches featured in the Ninth Circle, though I don't necessarily think the filmmakers are trying to say that Art's victims are banished to the hell depicted in the Ninth Circle. The costume designer drives away yet again, but little does she know, Art the Clown is stowed away in the back seat of her car. You can see she just leaves the door open when she goes to check on the other car. Not the smartest. But one thing is for sure, Art's attempt to suffocate the costume designer by pulling saran wrap around her face is a dumb one. She punctures a hole in the saran wrap and slams on the brakes, sending Art flying headfirst into the dashboard. Art is stunned, giving her time to find a brief refuge in the woods, locking herself in an old barn. We know Art is no match for a locked door, but that doesn't mean he can't find other means of entry. Art emerges from the ground and attacks the costume designer with what would become one of his favorite weapons, a bunch of sharp objects attached to a chain. However, the chain breaks faster than a breath of the wild weapon, and as Art struggles with it, the costume designer grabs a small blade and sticks it in his eye before jamming a knife in his back. She escapes and manages to flag down a vehicle driven by a young man with a face. Art rises from the ground and with a knife still in his back, chases after her in a car of his own. He's a surprisingly skilled driver. He pulls up next to them and shoots the driver in the head, all while silently laughing at what he's done. Art's use of a firearm is a departure from what you normally expect from a slasher. Michael Myers used a variety of weapons, but never a gun. Leone has stated in interviews that his choice to allow Art the Clown to use guns is a deliberate one. It's part of his larger mission to continually break the rules and expectations with Art in order to keep him unpredictable. And it certainly seems to have caught his victim by surprise. She careens off the road into a tree, and Art takes her back to his lair, where she wakes up on a surgical table to find that he's been hard at work mutilating.
See, that's what I like about the Art the Clown, the Terrifier one, is yeah, they're taking a few of the ideas are from like some of the scarier movies from slashers from back in the 80s. Um, but yeah, no, see, I like that they're keeping it fresh though. So I can't wait to see what the third one's gonna be like.
Her body. He points and laughs at her as she discovers that her limbs and breasts have been removed, and several words have been carved into her, like pig, and many others that may rhyme with pont, mitch, and glut. And this is where the Terrifier short ends. So what do we learn about Art here? We know he has some supernatural abilities, and that locked doors are a weakness for him. He kills 2 men and a faceless third person whose gender we can't say for sure. The thing that I noticed is how he really locked in on the costume designer the moment he saw her. He hunted her down and tortured her, and carved some very female-targeted insults into her flesh. So does this mean that Art has a problem with women in particular? Is he less the Michael Myers of his generation and more the Elliot Rodger? I don't know if there's enough evidence to say for sure, but it sure seems like it based on these first couple of appearances. He has a tendency to target women and just kill the men that get in the way. Michael Myers is very much the same way, going after Laurie Strode, Jamie Lloyd, Kara Strode, and Allison Nelson as his main targets throughout the years, but also stabbing anyone else who gets in his way, male or female. Art would continue to primarily target female victims going forward, but that's also most horror movies, so this text carved into the costume designer is probably the strongest evidence we have. What is clear is that with Art the Clown, your best bet is to expect the unexpected. This is especially true when he makes his first appearance outside the VHS tape and in the real world. Sarah the babysitter scrambles to turn off the TV, but the remote won't work. Art saws a body and stares directly through the television at Sarah. He's blurring the lines that separate the real world from the world within the videotape, and this is just the beginning. She turns off the TV and answers the phone. The woman on the other end screams for help and yells about a murder at a gas station. It's the costume designer making the exact same 911 call that she made in the movie. The TV suddenly turns back on, and Art the Clown now appears to be literally trapped inside of it. After seemingly trying to break out of the TV screen, she sees the image of the living room that she's standing in, with Art sitting behind her. Seemingly to reflect this, he materializes in the real world, but Sarah smashes the tape before he can make contact with her, and he disappears. Tia screams upstairs, and Sarah goes to check on her. But what she finds turns her entire world inside out. Art stands at the top of the stairs, laughing and covered in splats of red. In this instance, the real world takes on the same grainy look as the Terrifier short film, indicating that Sarah is now in the horror movie. And, as she saw in the VHS tape, anything goes. Art points to the children's bedroom, where Sarah discovers the kids, beheaded and chopped to pieces. Art signs his name in blood on the bedroom wall, effectively introducing himself and perhaps signing his latest masterpiece. Maybe this is why he's called Art, because he makes spectacles of his kills and signs them like works of art. I certainly think it's a work of art, but then again, have you seen my apartment? But interestingly, this is another thing that Art and Michael Myers have in common. Michael also likes to make artwork out of his victims, with extravagant displays and elaborate setups. Think about the scene from the first Halloween of one of his victims arranged under the Judith Myers tombstone, the carousel display he set up in Halloween Kills, or even his signature head tilt, almost as if he's admiring his kills in an art gallery. Michael Myers doesn't sign his work, but then again, Haddonfield is a small town and people know his name. This final sequence demonstrates that Art the Clown exists not just within the short films on the videotape, but also in the real world within the movie. And to put another hat on his hat on a hat, as this story comes to an end, Art invades the screen of the viewer the same way he invaded Sarah's screen just moments earlier. This The Ring-esque move suggests that Art may exist in our real world as well. It's a final touch that adds a little bit more mystique to Art the Clown. 6 years pass before Art makes his presence known again in 2019. You're probably asking yourself, if Terrifier came out in 2016, why does the movie take place in 2019? Let's break it down. Art always attacks on Halloween night, which of course bleeds into November 1st. In Terrifier, we see a cell phone that says it's Friday, November 1st. November 1st only falls on a Friday in 2013 or in 2019. The next chapter of Art's story takes place exactly 1 year later, and in that story, in a child's bedroom, we see a poster for an album by Animus called Dreamcatcher. This album came out in February of 2019, so it could be on a kid's wall in 2020. That being said, there's also this newspaper clipping which claims that it was published on Saturday, November 1st, which is obviously contradictory, so it's pretty likely that the filmmakers don't have a timeline in mind. But for our horror history purposes, it's more likely that there could be a misprint on this newspaper rather than an error by the cell phone. So we're gonna go with 2019. So with all that being said, we still don't know exactly what Art was up to in the years since we last saw him. But it's safe to assume that he was out there butchering people on the Halloween nights between 2014 and 2019 as well. We know Art murdered a little girl at a carnival at some point before Halloween in 2019. After this happened, the carnival was just abandoned there, and it seems that Art is living out of it. We eventually see a bloody bathroom there in 2020, which basically serves as his lair. Based on the size of the mess, I'd say he took other victims here as well. It's too much carnage to have just been from one child. I would know. I wouldn't know. It's safe to assume that it happened on Halloween, like the rest of his murders. As for the little girl, don't worry, we'll meet her soon. And while this probably isn't an intentional parallel or anything, Art living out an abandoned carnival for the other 364 days a year leading up to Halloween, it feels a lot like Michael Myers hiding out in the sewers during Halloween ends. Anyway, whatever he was doing in the meantime, by the time we see Art in 2019, he looks a little different. So let's pause for real-world context. Mike Gianelli portrayed Art the Clown up to this point, and the thing about Gianelli is he's not an actor. He essentially eventually got the part because he was a friend of the director, Damien Leone, and more importantly, a good sport. Leone said that when he passed the ninth circle, his first priority was finding someone who would be comfortable sitting in makeup for 3 hours a day. Gianelli had helped Leone with his makeup test before, so he got the job. He wasn't an actor before portraying Art the Clown, and he hasn't acted since. For the first feature-length Terrifier, Leone put out a casting call, and that's how he met David Howard Thornton. Leone said that the difference between the two actors is that Mike Gianelli was a guy dressed as a clown, but David Howard Thornton actually is a clown. Leone describes Thornton as a real-life Roger Rabbit, with comedy and clowning chops and a lankier body. Okay, back to Halloween Night in 2019. Art prepares for Halloween the same way that most of us do, by getting into costume. He puts on his gloves and face paint, and we actually get a distorted view of his unpainted face. This getting ready montage is probably the most compelling evidence that Art is actually supposed to be somewhat human, but there is still an air of mystery around him. A demon probably wouldn't have to take the time to get into costume, but no normal human would ever have teeth quite like Art's. Whatever the case, Art prepares a few choice weapons and heads out the door. Later that night, he's out in the streets where he follows a pair of drunk girls, Dawn and Tara, into a pizza place where they attempt to sober up before driving home. Art divides for Tara's attention and takes a selfie with Dawn before heading to the bathroom to make another horrific mess. I guess the events of the Terrifier short film really do come from a place of truth. This time, he even signs his name with the resources he has available. I guess a true artist can make something beautiful with whatever tools he or she has on hand. And I'm not just saying that because I've used the same camera for every episode of Horror History. Art slashes the tires on the girl's car.
That's why in the public bathrooms, never go to take his shit in there unless it's like an emergency, unless you can't hold it and you gotta scrap. But don't even look back at it. Just hurry up, get out, wash your hands and everything. But yeah, no. See, that's a little too far there.
And heads back to the pizza place where he beheads the restaurant owner and kills the pizza cook, whose last act on Earth, aside from getting stabbed in the face 1,000 times, was cleaning up Art's excrement. Dude didn't exactly go out on top. While waiting for a ride, Tara heads inside of a creepy apartment building to use the bathroom, leaving Dawn to wait in the car alone. A breaking news alert mentions the murders in the pizza restaurant, and the details are especially troubling.
The police are on the lookout for a tall, thin man wearing a black and white clown costume and carrying a large garbage bag.
But before Dawn can properly process this, Art pops in next door in the passenger seat.
Oh my god, you're not gonna believe what I just heard on the radio.
As much as I'd like to ream yet another character for leaving the car door unlocked, if I had a friend that was just running in somewhere to use the bathroom real quick, I probably wouldn't lock it either.
No,
He would keep her alive for now, but move her to an unused room inside the apartment complex where she...
No, I would still lock it because you never know, especially in today's world. People are crazy. People will try to break in, steal the car, probably steal you, probably try to kidnap you in the car. And maybe, but yeah. That's why I would always keep the doors locked. Like, if someone's got to run into like the store, lock it and then unlock it once they get close or once they're like at the car.
She's stripped and hung upside down for the time being. Then, near the entrance, he finds Tara on her way out. Or rather, Tara finds him, completely frozen. I think this is the most tense scene of Art's 2019 Rampage, and like many aspects of his character, he does it by reversing expectations. While other villains might go for a scare with fast movement and loud noises, it is the lack of movement here that is unsettling. That's why I brought up the importance of casting David Howard Thornton. His clown and mime skills translate really well to suspense and horror. After breaking the standstill, he chases her into some kind of indoor car lot, but Art, like Michael Myers, doesn't really run, relying on being methodical and persistent rather than quick. It's part of the psychology of what makes him creepy, which I'll expand on in a little bit. He eventually tracks Tara down and slices her ankles, but she manages to stab him in the side and escape just before he can gouge her eyes out. Art searches for her yet again. One interesting thing about Art's stalking is that he seems to be following her scent. That's just a minor specific, but it's one of the many traits that make him a little bit more than human. When he eventually catches up to Tara, he injects her with a sedative before she can get the attention of the exterminator who would let her into the building. Art takes Tara to another area where he ties her up and toys with her, feigning several attacks with an axe, then a saw. He seems to really get off on her fear. Eventually, he backs off, and just for a second, it seems that Art may be showing Tara a little bit of uncharacteristic mercy. But of course, that's not the case. She would soon find that she is his literal captive audience, and that the show was only just beginning.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Art walks across the room where, ever the showman, he tears down a sheet to reveal Dawn hanging upside down with her legs apart. She is gagged and topless with her hands tied behind her back. Starting between her legs, he saws her in half, hot dog style. This is arguably one of the most brutal scenes of all time. As he saws, he continually checks in on Tara, laughing all the while. Art is putting on a show, and the fact that he forces Tara to watch gives us a clue as to his motivation. Clearly, he set up this entire scenario so that he would have an audience. Maybe this is why he first appeared on that mysterious VHS tape 6 years prior. He wants people to watch him do the terrible things he does. He's a clown and a mime after all. Clowns and mimes need audiences to perform in front of. Even the way the sheet is set up before revealing Dawn almost looks like a stage curtain. By making his kills more gruesome and hard for others to watch, Art maybe gets more out of it for himself. Of course, with showmanship also comes drama. Tara manages to wiggle free and stab Art, and though he makes no audible scream, the pain is written all over his face. He bounces back quickly and follows her into a garage where she beats him with a 2x4. Art is on the ropes, but just as it appears that he may actually be defeated with one more blow to the head, he pulls out a gun and shoots her, in the leg, in the side, and finally, in the face. It's a cheap way out of the situation, but it does sort of follow Art's rule of doing the unexpected. He discovers Dawn's phone while reloading his gun in the other room, and he sees a text from Victoria, Tara's sister, who the two had called to pick them up. He may be mute, but apparently he understands English and how to use a smartphone, instructing her to come around to the back. When he returns to Tara, who is somehow still alive despite being shot in the face, he finishes the job, but then notices someone is watching him. It's a strange, delusional woman who lives in the building and carries around a baby doll, taking care of it and acting as if it's a real baby. For some reason, she's listed in the credits as Cat Lady, even though she has a baby doll, not a cat. We do hear cat noises when Tara first runs into her, but that hardly seems like a justification for making that her whole entire thing. I do have a better theory about who she is, which I'll get to a little bit later. On the way to reach the so-called Cat Lady, he crosses paths with the Exterminator and smacks him unconscious with a hammer. Unlike the time Michael Myers killed a man in a jumpsuit and proceeded to steal that jumpsuit, Art let the Exterminator keep his clothing, but he would be due for an outfit change not long after. Instead of killing the baby doll lady, he steals her doll and treats it like a real baby. And when she discovers this, she pleads with him.
Is there kindness in you? Somewhere in your heart?
Ma'am, there's blood
Have you
all
ever
over
felt
him.
a mother's
There's
touch?
no kindness.
She touches him tenderly on the face, and he leans into it and starts sucking his thumb. I don't know what the fuck that's all about, but I think it's safe to say that Art does indeed have issues with women. And while we probably won't ever get a backstory on how these issues came about, we can assume that they stem from some kind of trauma. Let's take his 1970s counterpart Michael Myers as an example. In a previous video, I discussed how Michael may have been traumatized by seeing his sister Judith perform sexual acts when he was young. And this was the root of all of his issues, and likely the motivation behind killing her in the opening of the original Halloween. It seems that whatever the cause, Art's issues around women go even crazier, because he cuts off the baby lady's scalp and breast to turn himself into a maternal figure, which is how he greets Tara's sister Victoria when she comes into the building to search. Art does a Bugs Bunny Pretty Lady routine before attempting to break into the locked closet where Victoria's hiding. Once again, he struggles with the locked door before going outside to decapitate the Exterminator's coworker who had come for backup. He pulls the guy's head off without much difficulty. Honestly, if Art hadn't gotten to him, the guy's head was probably coming off before long one way or another. Back in the warehouse, he sneaks up on Victoria and tries the old suffocation via saran wrap routine, just like in the Terrifier short. It takes a while, but like the woman in the short, Victoria realizes she can tear a hole in the plastic. And I love how dumbfounded Art looks that his plan failed. So close. And she uses this moment of confusion to stab him in the foot with a giant nail that's lying around. The chase continues into seedier and seedier looking areas of this supposed apartment complex. Victoria eventually discovers Tara's body, decorated with the circus sign from the short film. But Art finds her and whips her with his classic chain full of sharp objects, not realizing the Exterminator, that is, the original Exterminator, is sneaking up behind him to knock him out. After regaining consciousness, Art catches up with him and stomps his face in with his big clown shoes. Who's the Exterminator now, Mike? The last person to go after is Victoria, but she stabs him in the eye and escapes into some kind of restricted area with big swinging doors, kind of like the barn doors from the short film. Art can't squeeze through, once again proving his inability to pick a lock to be his greatest and most exploited weakness, so he's left to improvise. The last time we saw him burrow under the ground, but that was just a short film, so it's hard to say if that's realistic for him. This time he opts for a simpler solution. He steals the Exterminator's truck and drives it right through the doors, knocking Victoria out cold. This is the second time he's driven a car, which begs the question, who the hell gave this guy a license? Strangely enough, Michael Myers also knew how to drive. In the very first Halloween, he escapes from a mental institution and drives 150 miles back home. There have been entire articles written about this. When did Michael learn how to drive when he spent his life at a mental institution? Between this and his ability to use a cell phone, Art seems more and more human, but that would all change before long. First, he goes cannibal. He climbs on top of the unconscious Victoria and licks the fresh strawberry syrup off of her face. He seems a little bit more invested than usual, taking the time to enjoy the taste, then fully chowing down on her face as the police arrive. He doesn't really react to the police until they're right on top of him with their guns drawn, and even then, he seems more annoyed than he is afraid of them. A locked cell probably qualifies as a locked door that Art won't be able to get out of, so he opts for the alternative. The last trick up his sleeve, or more accurately, up his sock. He takes out his pistol and shoots himself in the face and dies. Of course, that's not how it ends. For the entirety of his story in Terrifier, which is probably most people's first exposure to Art the Clown, there's nothing to suggest that he's anything more than a psychotic serial killer wearing a clown costume. He can get hurt, but he's resilient, and he keeps coming after his victims. Michael Myers is handled the exact same way in Halloween. That is, until the end, when he takes a hail of bullets and somehow still disappears into the Haddonfield night. The final twist is that he's invincible, and this is one of the biggest characteristics that Art shares with him. So, instead of jail, he's taken to the coroner's office alongside the Exterminator whose head he stomped in. When Art's body bag is opened, he's doing his signature smile, staring up at the coroner with his one remaining eye. The lights in the hospital flicker, and electronics go haywire, indicating that there are indeed otherworldly powers at work here. Then he finishes the guy with this. I somehow don't think it's a coincidence that Art sits up the exact same way Michael Myers does after regenerating from a major injury. He would later slit the man's throat as well. When he checks out his injuries in the mirror, he kind of looks surprised and uses some of his brain juice to sign his name in the mirror. His reaction makes me think that this is the first time that he's respawned, and even he did not expect it. After smashing the guy's teeth out with a hammer, he pulls the coroner's eye straight out of its socket and places it into his own empty eye cavity to try it on for size. An eye for an eye, or I guess more accurately, an eye for nothing. Victoria, by the way, does survive the incident and becomes something of a media sensation, partially due to the fact that she has no face. After an interview with a journalist known for her exploitative and sensational nature, she savagely attacks the journalist backstage. This shows that the evil force driving Art the Clown might be contagious, which sets the stage perfectly for Art's next chapter. After taking out the coroner early in the morning on November 1st, he scours his supplies and steals some fluoroantimonic acid, aka the strongest, most corrosive acid in the world. It's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it, you know? I'm sure he'll find a good use. Art evades the police again and heads to the laundromat where he strips naked and washes his outfit. Because when you live in an abandoned carnival attraction, you gotta give up things like in-unit washer and dryer. The power in the laundromat goes off momentarily, and this is where Art meets a new friend. Her makeup, clothes, and teeth look a lot like Art's. In the credits, she's referred to as the Little Pale Girl, but based on this newspaper headline, her real name seems to be Emily Crane, the same little girl I mentioned before who Art kidnapped and murdered at the carnival sometime prior to 2019. Now this might be a coincidence, but do you remember the cat lady with the baby doll from earlier? Well, guess what that baby doll's name was?
This is my daughter, Emily. Say hello to the pretty young lady.
So if this isn't a coincidence, then the cat lady, who should be called Baby Doll Lady, is the mother of Emily Crane, aka the Pale Little Girl. Art really did a number on that family. Either way, we know that the Pale Little Girl now mostly exists inside of Art's head, because when another man in the laundromat notices the bizarre scene, he sees only Art playing patty cake by himself. The onlooker doesn't even get to tell anyone about this strange scene before Art puts a broom through his head and finishes his laundry. He does a remarkable job with his laundry, by the way, and then disappears for the next year. Over the course of that year, the legend of Art the Clown grew bigger than ever before. The events of 2019 are known as the Miles County Massacre, and the internet is abuzz with speculation about Art and what he's all about. There are even photos and sketches of him floating around online. We don't know exactly what Art himself was doing this time, but we do know that he's been plaguing the mind of at least one person. The father of the Shaw family, whose teenage daughter Sienna ended up being Art's main target the next Halloween. Sienna's dad had a brain tumor that kept growing. It drove him to psychosis, and in his madness, he feverishly drew portraits of Art and his victims, then eventually went mad and killed himself by driving into a transformer. I would surmise that Art was the one who caused the brain tumor, or at least the dad's obsession with drawing him and his victims. Remember, in the second short film on the VHS tape, an artist is possessed to draw a terrible face without having any recollection of it, and it turned out to be Art's face. Maybe Art has some ability to invade the dreams and imaginations of other artists. In fact, the night before Halloween, he seems to invade the dreams of Sienna. The dream takes place in a commercial set known as the Clown Cafe, where teenagers dressed like kids sing along to a very eerie song about the Clown Cafe, which is actually just a food truck. Art rolls up on his tricycle and hands out treats, giving Sienna the gift of a human heart covered in worms and black blood, and this is where her dream becomes a nightmare. He pulls out a Tommy gun and massacres the entire place, sets fire to everything, then it turns his flamethrower on Sienna, who shields herself with a sword once given to her by her father. When she wakes up, her bedroom is on fire, along with the homemade angel costume that she was going to wear for Halloween. It's interesting that Sienna is a cosplayer, not only because this is another type of artist, but the woman from the Terrifier short film was also known to be a costume designer. It seems that Art's supernatural abilities have been taken up a notch after his revival. We knew that he was evil and brutal like Michael Myers before, but now he's waking up in body bags like Mark Hoffman and invading dreams like Freddy Krueger. Not only that, but the fire Art started in Sienna's dream somehow became real in her bedroom, just like what happened to Kristen Parker in A Nightmare on Elm Street 4. The point is, Art is more powerful now than ever before. It's unclear why Art is going after Sienna specifically, but there is a lot of heavy-handed good versus evil symbolism going on between Sienna and Art. Sienna designed her own angel costume, and Art kills people and lights them on fire, kind of tying back into the hell symbolism last seen in the Ninth Circle. Sienna's dad also drew some not-so-subtle images of a woman in angel wings beheading a demon that looks a lot like Art the Clown. Whatever this actually means, it's clearly some kind of prophecy that Art seems to be taking seriously. That morning, Art affixes some sharp things to blunt objects in preparation for his Halloween festivities, while the pale little girl watches Victoria's interview about the Miles County Massacre on TV. Art gets a kick out of Victoria's mutilated face, but doesn't like what she has to say. Later that day, they harass Sienna's brother, Jonathan, at school by tearing apart a dead possum and throwing it in his direction. Jonathan gets blamed for mutilating the possum corpse, which gets him in even deeper trouble with his family, who are already concerned about his obsession with serial killers, specifically Art the Clown. Later, Art stalks Sienna and her friends at a Halloween store. He leers at Sienna and creeps her out, but she naturally just assumes that somebody dressed as Art the Clown is trying to scare her. By the way, if you ever find yourself in this situation, check the teeth. Art follows her to the cashier station. He tries out sunglasses and various other items, and there's even a little bit of a repeat of the first scene that we saw of him from the Ninth Circle. He's scolded by the employee and doesn't take kindly to that. After locking them in the store, he acts like he's gonna buy the horn and instead smashes the cashier's face with a bottle, rips out his eye, and beheads him. He even poses with the cashier's head to have a little fun with some passerby.
Wow. Yeah, that's wonderful, honey.
Yes, me, that's me. Once again, this scene is demonstrating Art's desire to have an audience. Next, Art shows up to trick-or-treat at Allie's house. This is Sienna's friend, who he ran into briefly at the Halloween store. He doesn't like being told that he's too old to trick-or-treat, and who would, but when Allie notices the real, seemingly used weapons in his bag, she goes inside and wisely locks her door. As usual, Art finds another way, this time smashing the glass door in the back and making himself at home. Allie freezes upon seeing him, but when he spots her, he decides it's time for a little makeover.
Might as well make a sandwich and sit down on the couch somewhere and put on basketball or the UFC fight.
After removing Allie's scalp, her back, and her left arm, he rushes back in and covers all of her open wounds with bleach and salt. Later, Allie's mom returns home to find Art tearing her daughter apart like a pick and peel Twizzler. And the worst part is, she's still alive. We know that Art always loves an audience, and that's no different here. He literally slaps his knee and laughs in delight at her horror. And speaking of audiences, this image, like many of the creepiest scenes of Art that I've discussed throughout this video, is a prime example of why audiences find him so creepy. It's an example of incongruent affect. In psychology, incongruent affect is when a patient's feelings do not match up with their appearance or do not match what is appropriate for the situation. The term is literally composed of the word incongruent, something that doesn't match up, and affect, pertaining to one's emotions. You might feel it if you saw someone laughing at a funeral or showing no emotion during an argument. Incongruence stands out to us and bothers us. It's a survival mechanism which primarily helps us spot predators who are trying to deceive us. It's troubling on a human level, and it's jarring when used effectively in movies. Many people find all clowns creepy. The painted-on smiles don't match the real human mouths underneath them, and that bothers us. When there's a real person doing a job to pay the bills under that makeup, the happiness on the outside doesn't always match the reality that we know, so we don't trust it. Art takes this to another level. You'd expect someone to react to a horribly brutal murder with shock and disgust. So when we see Art the Clown laughing and slapping his knee, it gets a reaction out of us on a deeper level. If this all sounds familiar, it's because I talked a lot about this concept in another episode of Horror History, the one where I broke down the history of Michael Myers. In Myers' case, the blank expression seen on his mask makes him look stone cold, and doesn't mesh when combined with the horrible crimes that he's often seen committing. He seems clinical or almost indifferent to the horror he creates. Art the Clown isn't just indifferent to his insane crimes, he delights in them. The whole thing is just amplified by his perfectly placed little hands. It's disturbing to the viewer on a visceral psychological level, which is very effective if, say, you're creating a villain to carry a horror franchise. That's not the last we see out of Allie's mom. Later that night, Art serves trick-or-treaters candy out of her head. It's interesting that Art doesn't kill these trick-or-treaters or everyone he encounters. He sometimes even goofs around with kids. Michael Myers also spared the lives of some kids that he encountered at the school on Halloween. So do Michael Myers and Art both have a soft spot for kids? Well, Art certainly doesn't. He beheaded Timmy and Tia back in 2013, and it wouldn't be long before Sienna's little brother Jonathan found himself under attack. He started by vandalizing the Shaw family's car, which is pretty light stuff by Art standards. It seems like Art wanted Jonathan to be blamed for this, so he used believable materials that a teenager would use, instead of his usual bodily waste products. Sure enough, Jonathan takes the blame while Art waits inside the car while the mom cleans it. When she finally notices him, Art pulls out a tiny shotgun and blasts her head clean off. When Jonathan returns home, he finds his mother sitting at the dining room table without a face, and Art does another Bugs Bunny-esque housewife routine. Art brutalizes the mom a little more in front of Jonathan before chasing him with a syringe. Jonathan runs into Sienna's room to retrieve the mysterious sword that she got from her dad, but Art catches him and puts him under. With the boy and the sword in tow, Art returns to the base camp at the carnival. Meanwhile, Sienna is off at a Halloween party, and it seems like Art is able to invade her mind the same way that he invaded her father's. The pale little girl appears to her on the dance floor, which freaks her out, causing her to leave the party with her friend Brooke and Brooke's boyfriend. This is part 1 of Art's plan to lure Sienna to him. Part 2 involves stealing Jonathan's phone and mimicking his voice. The two of them act like teenagers making a prank phone call, and they convince Sienna that her brother's in trouble at the abandoned carnival, instructing her to meet at the Terrifier, a walk-through attraction decorated with imagery of clowns and demons, including one black-skinned entity that kind of bears resemblance to Art. So, which came first, Art the Clown or the Terrifier attraction? I think the answer lies in the past. The attraction was probably inspired by the same urban legend that inspired the short films found on that mysterious VHS tape. Either way, this quest keeps Sienna busy, so in the meantime, Art attacks Brooke and her boyfriend who are waiting in the car. Brooke manages to kick him in the head and escape, but Art isn't far behind, calmly walking after her as always. She comes across his lair, another bathroom that Art has absolutely decimated with his signature, "Art was here," on the wall. As she begs for her life, Art holds his weapon high in one hand, but in the other, he's got the jar of acid that he stole from the coroner's office. See? I knew he'd find a use for it. He throws the acid on Brooke and bashes her ruthlessly, which culminates with Art removing Brooke's beating heart and eating it. This is the second example of Art eating his victims, and if I had to guess, it's less about nutrition and more about being as disturbing as possible. Or maybe he just listened to too many Lady Gaga lyrics. Art waits in the bathroom for Sienna, who runs in looking for Brooke, and upon finding her, becomes Art's newest audience member. Art is finally ready to square off with Sienna when Jonathan joins the party and distracts him, so Sienna takes advantage of this and plunges a nail-ridden 2x4 into the side of his leg. This is Art the Clown's episode of Horror History, but this sibling relationship is really the heart of this particular story. Art is just a guy who hates Sienna for some intentionally vague reason, possibly having to do with good versus evil and her father's drawings. But this story is about family, dealing with loss, and working together as siblings. Like I suggested early on, we're already starting to see Art being used as a generic vehicle to tell different types of stories. Leone has said in interviews that Terrifier 2 was his first real attempt to tell a meaningful story around Art the Clown. This isn't just a sign that he's maturing as a filmmaker, it's proof of concept that Art has what it takes to carry a franchise and be a lasting horror icon like Michael Myers. The chase and
that's what I like about the second one too. That's how they were doing it there.
Fight with Sienna and Jonathan continues deeper into the Terrifier haunt, where they see all sorts of demonic imagery.
It's like what I like about the second one is like the sibling characters, like you were actually invested in them. They are kind of like a Nancy Thompson or Laurie Strode. Like you were interested in those characters, but then there were like some rando characters in there that you didn't really get emotionally drawn to them. That's why, like, sometimes the Fridays could get a little bit repetitive. I mean, it is, but I mean, guess if it ain't broke, don't need to fix it. But I like how new time, new horror genre. I mean, it's same horror genre, but changing it up. I like that.
Art eventually sneaks up on Jonathan by posing as one of the animatronics and goes to town with his makeshift chain mace. When Sienna hears the commotion, she tries to fight back, but eventually just crawls on top of her brother to shield him. The not-so-subtle angel versus demon imagery hits a fever pitch here. This is all going on, by the way, in the church scene in the walkthrough attraction. But the power dynamics shift when Sienna catches one of his attacks and turns his chain back against him. Art appears to be finished when Sienna stabs him through the forehead with a fence post, but everyone knows that's not enough to kill Art at this point. Art pounces on Sienna from behind and chokes her out. He almost finishes her when Jonathan steals his gun from his ankle holster and shoots him with it. Reality gets blurred here, as both Art and Sienna fight to regain consciousness. The pale little girl takes the form of Sienna's mother and tries to comfort her. However, it soon becomes clear that this is just another form of hallucinogenic manipulation, as she had seen in her dream and at the Halloween party.
Sienna! Get away from her! That's not mommy!
Control slips away from Sienna when Art chokes her and throws her into a pit. As he looks down on her, her landing position resembles that of a fallen angel, and the area lights up red like the fires of hell. The archetypal roles have now been reversed. Within this pit, there is yet another pit, kind of like in Dante's Inferno, where there are multiple circles of hell. There are horns honking and voices wailing from inside the pit, a little reminiscent of the hell we saw in the Ninth Circle. He tosses her into the second pit, which sends Sienna back into the world of the Clown Cafe, where she drowns in a dunk tank of sorts, while the zombie kids sing the distorted Clown Cafe theme song. Art tries and fails to wake Jonathan up, then just decides to feast on the child's legs. But his meal is rudely interrupted when Sienna, rejuvenated by her love for her brother, returns from the realm of the Clown Cafe and stabs Art with her father's sword. Once again, Art is on his heels, and he's the one trying to escape. He looks up at Sienna, standing over him with a knowing look in his eye. Sienna's dad drew pictures of Art being beheaded by an angel, and finally, Art recognizes that this moment has arrived. In fact, I feel like he almost offers his neck up to her right here as he flashes one last signature smile before getting his head hacked off. After learning of his invincibility the previous year, he's not too worried about his mortality. Art's lifeless head lays on the ground for a little bit until the pale girl comes by and picks it up. She cradles it like a baby, flashes her own demon eyes at Sienna and Jonathan, and takes Art's head away. This may suggest that she's actually more than a piece of Art's imagination, but my guess is that this will be something answered in a future installment. Back at the psychiatric hospital, Art's only surviving girl from the first Miles County massacre, Victoria, is in the middle of some kind of episode, and a nurse comments that she's been humming the theme song from the Clown Cafe all day. She scrawls some disturbing messages all over the walls, using a lot of the same words that were carved into the costume designer way back in the Terrifier short. And lastly, she writes the words Vicky plus Art, with a heart around them, before going into labor, which involves her pulling her own guts out of her stomach. When it's all said and done, she sits on the floor of the cell, holding the smiling, severed head of Art the Clown like a newborn baby. It's one of about 1,000 examples of what you've probably noticed is the main focus so far when it comes to Art the Clown, the gore. In fact, a lot more attention seems to go into making Art as ruthless and blood-soaked as possible, rather than making his story compelling or even making his lore make any sense. The Terrifier films almost feel like they're made to be kill-counted, which doesn't exactly make them easy to analyze for something like horror history. As you probably noticed, I had to do a lot of work to try to make any coherent sense of this character, because thematic consistency and logic will always be thrown out in favor of a really cool kill. Hopefully the legwork put into this episode helped you appreciate Art in a new light then. I obviously like a good story, so I haven't been that crazy about the Terrifier movies to this point, but there's something that I like about Art, maybe not as a character, but as an icon. You can't argue with the fact that these movies have found an audience, and that's hard to do. Leone may have stumbled into something more, and the idea of using Art as the main draw in a better thought out story at some point is still pretty exciting. It is actually his simplicity that makes him so versatile. The same was once true for Michael Myers. John Carpenter purposely didn't do much to flesh out this character for his audience in the 1970s. He referred to Myers simply as the Shape in the original script for Halloween, and that's how the character is actually listed in the film's credits. But Michael Myers doesn't need much backstory. We don't need to know anything about him except that he's the embodiment of evil and that he hunts Laurie Strode and the people she cares about. Like Art the Clown, Myers doesn't use words to express himself, because he doesn't need them. If Michael Myers explained that he was jealous of the attention that Laurie got from their parents as a baby or something, we'd know that he was just some lame guy driven by hurt feelings. Instead, Carpenter let moviegoers ponder these questions on their own. Why is Michael Myers so relentlessly evil? Is he human, or is he something more? The fact that we don't have answers for these questions is actually what made the character endure. Art the Clown's scare factor operates the exact same way. We don't know what forces are at work to make him invincible, or if it's even possible to kill him. I kind of want to know what would happen if the people of Miles County tossed him into an industrial shredder. We still don't know his motivations, outside of seeming to have a prejudice for women, or why he delights in being so vile. Since we don't know anything about him, he could potentially pop up anywhere and target anyone. Most importantly, he could be placed at the center of any kind of story, as long as that story takes place on Halloween. The original movie, All Hallows Eve, is even named after the holiday, just like Michael's debut 35 years before. For these reasons, Art the Clown really could be the Michael Myers for a brand new generation. With a third Terrifier on the horizon, this would be a perfect time to check out my horror history episodes on Michael Myers. Or, if you're still looking to clown, check out my Pennywise episode. You'll find that one on the left. Remember to subscribe to CZ's World.
Make sure to subscribe to them, CZS World. Make sure to subscribe to his channel, and trying to appreciate that. and we're gonna watch.
For new horrors every week, ring the death bell for notifications, and I'll see you in the next one. Assuming we both survive.
It's not football, it's ping pong!
How crazy is this?
One of the craziest games ever!
Here we go.
We have just witnessed NFL legend and lore.
Since the early 2000s.
And last 2 years, the Cowboys head coach, the offensive coordinator for Miami. Pitching this play is Leslie Shepard. We have played 11 minutes, 51 seconds. Miami has 205 total yards. The Jets have 7.
This is a miserable night, not only for Testaverde, but for this entire Jet team so far.
Second down and 13. Ready for Coles, and does he make the catch? He does! How did he catch that one? He took it out of Sam Madison's grasp. It went from an interception to a completion and a touchdown. And the Jets, after a miserable first 28 minutes, get back into the game. Fiedler, and he's going for 6 into the end zone. It's wide open as Shepard. Fake to Martin, then it's up, and it is juggled and caught by Jumbo Elliott at the 43-yard line. One more first down, and they'll be in field goal range for Martin. And that is piss off again by Coleman. This game is unbelievable. It was 30-7 at one point. It is now the longest game in the history of Monday Night Football. If the Jets win, it will be the greatest comeback from 40 yards. Good snap, kick away. Jets win.
Second and 5. Again, touchdown. 28 seconds remaining to be played. Doesn't get a bounce. Oh, there's a high hop. It is a pile up inside midfield. Let's see who comes up with the football. And they are still trying to unstack the players to make a call. Bears ball. Bears are out of timeouts.
Gonna take the time.
Steps up, gonna go for it all in the end zone. Jump ball. Caught! It's caught! James Allen was there for the tip.
Shane Matthews stepping up in the pocket, allowed the receivers to get in the end zone, creates the tip for the catch by James Allen.
Couch out the shotgun. Throws that bat into the air. Intercepted, and the Bears are gonna win. Mike Brown has done it again. The Chicago Bears scored 20 points in the last 3 minutes and 22 seconds to win it in overtime. Throws to the right side. He's got a receiver at the 35. Breaking away is Owens. Can they catch him? He's at the 40.
No one's getting him. 30, 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown Niners.
Touchdown 49ers.
Collins over center. Short set, lobs it left, looking for Tudor. He's got it for a touchdown on Plummer. Lobs it left, looking for Shockey. He's got it for a touchdown right over the defender. Blitz on, they give for Barber. Runs right, Tiki to the goal line. Touchdown Giants. And just like that, the Giants have added a 5th touchdown.
Drop with Garcia. Throws quickly across the middle. Caught by Owens. Brings the tackle. Gets inside the 10, down to the 5. Back to the goal line. Touchdown 49ers. Bootleg by Garcia. He only needs a block to go in from Stokes. He did. Touchdown 49ers.
San Francisco has scored 16 points at the snap of a finger.
Straight back drop. Has time. Throws to the end zone. Caught. Touchdown 49ers. Tie streaks.
All right, Matt Bryant gets set. 41-yarder. Left hash mark. Snap is low. Allen can't get it down.
There's another bad snap. He's going to throw it into the end zone. There's a Giant there. It's incomplete. Are they going to call interference?
There's a flag on the play. There's an interference flag, too. Or was it an illegal man downfield? Penalty is on the Giants. Ball game over. And the Giants are going home.
Yes, it's chaos, folks, but isn't it fun?
No team in the history of the league has won a team after trailing by 21 or more points with fewer than 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Munger keeps them alive, and Munger scores. He's in for the touchdown with a score of 35-21. Vanderjagt on the high hopper, and leaping up in the air is Bashir, and he has it. Manning buying time, throwing by the open man is Harrison with the touchdown, and they're down by 1 score from the 41. Manning deep out in front and catching it is Harrison, who's down to the 5-yard line.
I think this is very, very close. You believe in miracles. I think we're getting close.
They're getting very close.
I'd say we're there.
40-yard attempt for Vanderjagt. Hunter Smith to hold it. And it is no good. A flag is down, though. There's a flag down.
Unsportsmanlike conduct. Number 97, defense.
Oh, man. Leap it. Again, just to parse the rule even farther, it says if you line up more than a yard behind the line of scrimmage, leap, and contact the body on the way down and attempt to block a field goal. That's leaping, that's unsportsmanlike conduct, and now a 29-yard attempt by Vanderjagt. He hits the upright, and it bangs through. How crazy is this?
straight balls. They want to get it back in this ball game.
Palmer looks the deep ball. Single carriage. Guess who? Touchdown! Which one's out of the motion, man? To the end zone. Touchdown! Holcomb sets the throw to the corner. Great catch. Touchdown! Hayden, the tight end.
I don't think I've ever seen more big plays in a football game than I've seen here today. This is ridiculous.
Back and forth we go.
Wow. Where it stops, nobody knows. I tell you this, as long as there's time on the clock, there's going to be fireworks out here in this field. That has been established, I think.
First and goal at the 7-yard line. Touchdown! Cincinnati! At the 31-yard line, 1:52 left, 2 timeouts remaining as Holcomb pedals. He looks right. Walking in for the touchdown. Down for the whole deal. For a game to remember in Cincinnati, 58-48 the final.
Brunel passes caught. Touchdown, Betts, and the Redskins jump out in front. Sims fires. Touchdown, Buccaneers. First and goal. Portis bouncing it to the outside and in for the touchdown for Washington. Gonna let it throw again. Down the middle. Galloway, what a catch. Overthrown and still hangs on for a one-handed grab.
Go to the sideline. It's intended for Edel Shepard. He makes a diving catch. He's got it. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Edel Shepard's got his first career touchdown. A point away from a tie with 58 seconds left.
And there are flags. It looked like Washington came across early.
Offside.
Now the offense is back on the field, going for 2 to take the lead. They hand to Allstott. Allstott fights. He got in. And it's a 1-point win for the Bucs, and the young quarterback grew up today.
It's Maroney fumbling. Ball still loose. And the Colts in the scrum. No, the ball's in the end zone. And the Patriots have recovered for a touchdown. It's Dillon going in with ease. Touchdown, New England. Back to throw. Fires near side.
Intercepted. Left side. Asante Samuel, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Asante Samuel.
Going to go from the yard out. And diving for it. Touchdown.
Touchdown! Dan Clifford. He got it. 2 points. The first time they've made one all year.
Brady again. Move right. Plant the feet. Back to the end zone. And did he get the feet down? He rolled a push out. It is. Touchdown. That's what the field and Rose trying to score it in. Did the ball come out? And the Colts trying to say, yes, they recovered now. A fumble for a touchdown. It's Jeff Saturday. Right back at you, they say, to New England. Another running play. Walks in for the touchdown.
Intercepted. Martin Jackson. Martin's got it. We're going to the Super Bowl.
The New York Football Giants and the New England Patriots in Super Bowl 42. Patriots 18-0. How did the Giants pull off one of the major upsets in Super Bowl history? Brady gets set, takes the snap, back to throw, lobs one right for Moss, touchdown! The Patriots have a lead with 2:42 to go.
17-14 is the final, okay? 17-14, fellas. Pressure from Thomas off the edge. Eli Manning stays on his feet. Airs it out down the field. It is caught by Tyree. Oh my God. Manning lobs it. Burris alone. Touchdown, New York.
And that is it. The Giants raise their hands in exultation. The Patriots will not be perfect. They were for 18 games, but not the 19.
From the gun, Steelers show blitz. Here they come. He gets it away. It's picked up at the goal line. There's a flag thrown on the run back. James Harrison to run it back, and Harrison is past midfield. Harrison going down the sideline. Harrison still on his feet. Harrison is going to go all the way and waiting for the official to get there. Touchdown is signaled. 2nd and 10. Warner has time. Fitzgerald into Steeler territory. 30, 20, 10. Arizona has the lead. They gonna score. That's how you want to score, huh? Quick. Let's go.
Escapes, starts running to his right, throws it on the run. The pass is caught out over the 25. Complete to Santonio Holmes with a great catch in traffic. Fires a pass, it's caught. Running down the sideline, Santonio to the 10. Santonio tackle at the 5-yard line with 51 seconds to go.
Throws to the back of the end zone, and it is off for a touchdown.
Santonio with a touchdown. Santonio Holmes. I don't know how he did it.
Style points don't matter. We win the game. This is a legendary defense.
He steps up. He runs around. He's going to be. Then the Steelers have a fumble recovery. It's over, folks. The Pittsburgh Steelers have won the Super Bowl for a 6th-time unprecedented.
Pressure coming. He's forced out. Rolling right. Humps. And now throws back across the middle. Tipped and intercepted. Green Bay turns it over on the first play. Back to throw. Fires over the middle. It's caught. Inside the 10-yard line. Inside the 5. Touchdown. Early Doucette. Warner's got time. Steps up. Throws over the middle. It's caught by Doucette at the 10. Spins out of a tackle at the 5. And Doucette takes it in for the touchdown. Throwing over the middle. Fitzgerald wide open at the 20. Moves in the 10. Misses it. It is 31-10 Cardinals with 11:15 to go.
Rodgers looks, drills the right side of the end zone. Touchdown! Great catch by Jennings.
Can the Packers climb back into this game before the fourth quarter?
Tightrope into the sideline. Jordy Nelson to the pylon for the touchdown.
Snap to Warner. Back to throw. Everybody covered. Warner hit. Ball floats out of there. Diving catch anyway by Fitz in the end zone. Touchdown!
Blitz. Rodgers throws and completes. That's Jones. James Jones to the end zone for a touchdown. Handoff is to Kuhn, the fullback, and Kuhn is in for the touchdown. 2nd and 7 over the middle. Preston. Touchdown.
Snap to Rodgers. Looking around. Waiting. Drills the right side.
He's got his man. Spencer Hayner. Touchdown. The end zone. Touchdown. The Cardinals cannot stop the Packer offense.
We're tied at 45.
It's a shootout today, baby.
We're down to 14 seconds to go in regulation. The score is tied at 45. 34-yard field goal attempt for Neil Rackers.
The most accurate kicker in the NFL.
Here it is, the placement, the kick to the uprights, and it is...
No good! He pulled it left! Oh my goodness!
We are heading to overtime. Rodgers dropping back, in trouble. Rodgers hit, ball came out! Cardinals have a dancing! He's gonna score! Cardinals win! We're going to Orlando!
I think we have just witnessed NFL history, legend, and lore.
He looks over the middle, complete to Jeremy Maclin, who fumbles the football and picked up by the Giants. Can you remember a more one-sided half that the Eagles have played? The offense can't stay on the field.
Manning over the middle. Boss, touchdown.
Right with the football is Selleck at the 20, at the 15, 10-5, touchdown! Run Selleck! 3rd down, it goes to the quarterback draw. He's in! We've got a one-touchdown game! Hang on to your seats, ladies and gentlemen. This is something special. He looks, he fires, complete. It is to Maclin, and Maclin runs in for the touchdown!
He did nothing on the Chiefs when they played him to the Chiefs.
Try to dodge the punt. Get the... Oh! I don't care if he jumps, dives, he's running around, and he's in the end zone, and there's no time, and the Eagles win! The Eagles win!
This is Miracle in the Middle Range number 2.
Now he takes the snap, dropping back, jumps over the middle. Sproles has got it on the run to the 30. Sproles to the 20. Sproles will score. Shotgun Smith. Saints bring extra man out. He's going to boot to his left to the ground. He's going to run it 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown. Looking, throws a deep ball up the middle for Graham. Graham made a leaping catch. He spins away. Graham is running to the 10. 5. Touchdown. Third down, Alex takes the snap. Alex looking, got it, and he's got it! Touchdown! Touchdown 49! Vernon Davis with the play of his life!
On the other side by Tennessee, because they were right. On the challenge, look at this, a little throwback action. We've seen that before, that's Tommy Campbell. Tommy Campbell will score. Remember the Music City Miracle? Locker fires deep down the middle for Cook. What a catch at the 30. Breaks free to the 20. To the 10. To the 5. To the end zone. Here comes Raynaud from 5 yards deep out of the end zone. To the 10, to the 15, to the 20. To the 30. To the 40. Near field 40. 30. 20. 10. 5. End zone. Touchdown. Titans.
Pocket takes the snap. Stepping into the pocket, throws deep middle. It is caught. And he's gone. 4 scoring plays of 60 yards or more by the Titans.
Stafford on 2nd and 10. Throws to Pettigrew. And he took it away. Murder took it away. 30, 40, 50. Take a night bomb. Altron Murder's going to the house. Throw inside. Touchdown. Anything happen. Here's the bounce. And there it is. And it's picked up by the Lions.
Coach got it. Steps up. Got to get it into the end zone. Hill throws it all the way downfield into a massive body. Not caught. Lions. Touchdown. Titus Young. He caught it at the 1 and dove in. The Lions are an extra point away.
means
Yeah,
he does not have it. What a game! The Ravens fans continue to file into a snow-filled M&T Bank Stadium. Right now, it's near whiteout conditions. This is going to be an adventure for the coaches, the players, and the officials.
Castle fires back to the end zone. Jerome Simpson, touchdown!
Flacco takes the snap, throws to the end zone, caught, and the Ravens lead is 15-12.
Castle out of the shotgun, goes to Gerhardt, sneaky, plenty of room, 40, 30, lowers the helmet, 20, inside the 10, touchdown! And the Vikings have reclaimed the lead. How about that?
Taken at the 22 by Jacoby Jones across the 30, 35-40, midfield, near sideline, Jacoby Jones, touchdown! Ravens, this is insanity!
Whips it out to Cordero Patterson to the right side, gets a great block from Matt Asiata. And Cordero Patterson is gone!
It's not football, it's ping pong! 10 seconds left, Flacco to throw, fires to the end zone, and it's caught, Marlon Brown, and the Ravens win, the wildest one you'll ever see. 4 touchdowns in a minute 27 seconds.
One of the most exciting fourth quarters in the history of the National Football League.
Another turnover for the Seattle offense. Career-high 4 interceptions thrown by Russell Wilson.
Green Bay has just dominated.
We still win this game, I'm taking it.
And they can fake it. Bryant going to throw it for the touchdown. Seattle's back in it.
The play fake. Wilson's going to step in untouched. Touchdown, Seahawks. Seahawks draw it within 6, 19-13. There it is. Bounces high. Seattle has a chance of bouncing around. The Seahawks got it. Seattle still has life with 2:07 to play.
Come on, team fight. Let's go. Hey, we got to stay in attack mode. It's playoff. We got to go for it, man.
Here's Lynch. Marshawn Lynch. He's gone.
Wilson's going to roll right. He looks, man in his face. Still looking. Going to throw it up in the back of the end zone. He looks for help. There's Luke Wilson. He leads the catch for the 2-point conversion. And you say comeback.
With 3 timeouts to burn, he can work the entire field. They've got Seattle on the rope, and Aaron Rodgers is applying the pressure. Here's the snap. What's been made? Kick to the upright, and it is good! It is good! With 14 seconds remaining.
3rd and 7 from his own 30. Russell takes the shotgun snap. He looks. He's going to let him fly down the sideline. Bowman makes the catch. He's down inside the 40. A beautiful pass down the right sideline to Doug Baldwin. He's going to throw down the middle. He's got a man. The ball caught. Touchdown. The game is over. The Seahawks are going back to the Super Bowl.
I told you.
4 minutes on the game clock. They're down 13-10. Drops back to throw. Looks over the middle. Fires it. Broken up. Tip. Oh, it's caught in the end zone for a touchdown by Floyd. You got to be kidding.
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
55 seconds to go. Packers trying to keep hope alive here. Scrambles to his left. Looking. He rainbows. Left side for Janet.
Yes! Yes!
At the 35-yard line of Arizona. Oh, my goodness. 5 seconds to go for Green Bay. Snap to A-Rod. Looking downfield, bidding flush. Rolling left, winds up. Rainbows it high and deep into the end zone. It's high-pointed and caught. It is caught for a touchdown.
Yes!
A miracle catch.
Jeff Janis
in the end zone.
Can you believe it?
Unbelievable.
Believe it.
What a catch!
It's insane.
Oh my, that may be one of the great throws ever made. I have never seen anything like this game.
Palmer setting up. He's in trouble. He's hit. Gets out of there. Rolls right. Throws back to the left. Fitz is wide open. Caught at the 35. Nobody's there. He's at the 40. At the 50. Turns upfield at the 45. At the 40. 35. Stiff arms 30. 25. 20. Fitz to the near side 10. To the 5 and tackled there. Carson Palmer somehow got out of trouble and found a wide open Fitz.
I've seen everything.
Oh, yeah.
I have seen everything.
Snap to Palmer, rolls up, and it's a pitch to Fitz, running straight ahead into the end zone. The shallow pass for the touchdown to win. The Cardinals advance to the NFC Championship game in one of the craziest games ever. It would be an unprecedented comeback if the Patriots climb out of this hole. Come on, boys, let's go now. Got locked in now, laser focus. Gonna be a hell of a story. Hell yeah. Now they'll throw. Pass is caught. That's White. Hightower gets to the quarterback. Ball is loose. Patriots recovering at the 25. Brady. End zone touchdown. There's life for New England. Gotta believe. Gotta believe, boys. Here's Edelman broken up. Edelman comes down with a football and they're saying it's a catch. Oh my God. That's incredible. Tom takes the snap. He backs up. Hands it to White. Up the middle. Touchdown, Patriots.
It's amazing how this team is never dead.
Tom takes the snap. Quick throw to Amendola. Screen left. He's in. It's a tie game in Super Bowl 51. Don't ever count Tom Brady out. Nice job, Dola. The first ever overtime in Super Bowl history. Let's go score and win this thing, baby.
Toss sweep right for James White. Tucks it under the right arm. Cuts it upfield. Driving forward. Diving to the goal line. A touchdown and a title for the Patriots.
I can't believe it.
They have completed the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history. When I say halftime, tell me how we started. I love you, bro. We're bringing this sucker home.
First down, Saints. Under 3.5 to go. Pass is caught for the touchdown. All the way back from down 17 to nothing. This for the lead. Format. He got it.
So Drew Brees will have 1 minute and 30 seconds to get in field goal range. This will be a 43-yard attempt, and it's good. The Saints retake the lead.
10 seconds to go. 24-23 Saints. We need a Minneapolis miracle.
Yeah, we do. This crowd is stunned. I think everybody's stunned right now.
Let's go. Let's go.
10 seconds remain. Steps into it. Pass is caught. Diggs! Sideline! Touchdown! Unbelievable! Vikings win it! That's pandemonium. It's a Minneapolis miracle! No way! Stephon Diggs has just taken the Minnesota Vikings to the NFC Championship game in a game none of us will soon forget.
The lights come on. We play lights out.
Oh yeah, this Chiefs-Rams game was amazing. I don't know if they were hyping that up too.
He's caught! Jared Goff, second
really
scoring
did.
throw. Absolutely outrageous.
Who knows?
First half of football. Third and goal. Goff. He's going to run it straight in. Jared Goff. Oh my, and you come. As he tries to work his way in, it does. His second touchdown of the night. Mahomes lines it up, wide open as hell. How was that?
He's
That is
got
our
the
third
best
lead
receiver in the
change
NFL
tonight.
today.
And all of a sudden, the Chiefs are up by 4. Quick to snip it. Third goal. It gets forward to the end zone, and it is caught by Everett. First and goal, Kansas City. Crossing around, Conley. Touchdown, Chiefs. They retake the lead. Now, will this be one of the finest moments in the young career of Jared Goff and head coach Sean McVay? Goff on first down. Everett is strong. Wow! Touchdown Rams! Play big from Mahomes. A half roll to his right. Hit as he throws. Wobbly ball. Hit! Intercepted by Marcus Peters on a night that LA will never forget. Breeze on fake. Big drop. Going deep again. Touchdown! Garoppolo's got all day. He's going to launch it deep down the field. Going for it all. And getting it! Emmanuel Sanders not touched. Still on his feet. Inside the 10. And he scores! 75-yard bomb from Jimmy Garoppolo. On inside, a little trickery here. Sanders going to throw it wide open his booster for the touchdown. This game is bonkers. What a game. Oh, come on, you got there. A fake to Moser. Got killed. Makes the catch. Diving for the end zone. He's in. Touchdown, San Francisco.
And look at Kittle reaching and extending. Touchdown. I think that's a touchdown.
Reeves throws. Going for touch. He's got it. And he's in. Touchdown, New Orleans. Last time. Going over the middle. Paul Smith. Takes it down to the top. Still going. Touchdown, New Orleans.
4th down and 2. Stop here. Ends this game.
Garoppolo fires. It is caught still on his feet. He's Kittle with a big play. And the stiff arm. George Kittle. Flags fly. He's down to 30. What a run by George Kittle. Snap is high. The kick is up. And it is good. What a win for the 49ers.
On his first and goal now.
On the ground. Here's Nick Chubb. Breaks a tackle into the end zone. Makes the inside handoff. Keeps it. Reaps it. He's in. Touchdown. Lamar Jackson.
It is the back Edwards. Turns the corner. Lowers the shoulder. Touchdown. Ravens.
Jump rush. He's hit. He's marked. He's in. Touchdown. That's 2 for Chubb.
And on the COVID-19 reserve list, Jackson takes off. So much green in front of him for the Lamar Jackson touchdown. Jackson will keep it. Lamar Jackson cuts it up. Look at the speed by Lamar Jackson. Motion Landry in the backfield. They do get it to back. Kareem Hunt. Touchdown. Worst starting field position of the game for the Browns. And it's intercepted. Picked off by Tyus Bowser. And he's going to be launched short of the goal line. To shortly, Parker.
And the touchdown.
Steve, I'm not being told that Lamar Jackson is back in the Ravens locker room being treated for cramps. His return is questionable.
Ravens bringing the heat.
It sucks before the program. It was like the next chance to be obvious.
Mayfield trying to escape. Turns the corner away from Wall. Touchdown. And he slides home. And here comes Lamar Jackson. Jackson trying to throw for it. And he's got it. Marquise Brown hands on the football and scores. How do you like that?
Mayfield back to pass. Throws near side. Hunt right. At the 50. At the 10. At the 5. At the 1. At the pylon. Touchdown. Kareem Hunt. From 55 yards. Morgan cuts for the snap. Santa took the hold. Tucker's kick is traveling down the middle. It is wide up. It is gone.
That's one of the greatest plays in history right there. You guys are awesome.
Buffalo down. 26-21. 2 minutes left. Fourth down here. Josh fires a strike into the end zone. Man right over and touchdown. Remarkable. They take the lead with a minute 54 to go.
It's here. In the open. Cuts it upfield. He might be gone. He is. This place is going crazy. 2 lead changes, 52 seconds apart. The Chiefs lead 33-29.
The way these two teams have moved the ball most of the night, anything can happen here.
Down the middle to the end zone. There it is.
Unbelievable. The Bills get the lead back again.
Oh my gosh, this is perfect quarterback play. 3 lead changes inside the last 2 minutes of a divisional playoff game. There's still 13 seconds to go. There's another chance. That was a great play call. That broke right away, right now, 7 in the middle. In the middle. Oh my goodness. That's going to be a 48-yard attempt. Wow, only Mahomes gets you in an easy field goal range. I mean, this is unbelievable. A game. I'm so nervous. So, it's gone. Mahomes looks to throw it. Pump fake. Right side. He wants a comeback. It is caught by Kelsey. Touchdown. The Chiefs have won this incredible divisional playoff game in overtime. One of the great back and forth comebacks you'll ever see. This was literally a quarterback duel for the ages. One of the great games you'll ever see in the history of the NFL.
4th down and a mile as we welcome you to Orchard Park with 2 minutes left in a 4-point game. Kirk Cousins back to throw on 4th and 18. He's given time. He wants Jefferson. Climbs the ladder. Oh my goodness! Justin Jefferson pulled it in. The catch of his life keeps the Vikings hopes alive. There's no way. So now it's 4th down and goal an inch away. Another chance for the Vikings. Cousins to sneak it. And
oh, he didn't make it. They said he didn't make it. And you're an inch from getting a fat L put on you, and the Vikings couldn't get in. Dang it. Bills are going to take over on the half-yard line.
Not simple here for the Bills. Zero breathing room. He tries to sneak it.
He did not get out. That's a safety. Give it to us. Give us the safety.
What's taking so long?
Oh, the ball came out. The Vikings are going to win. Yes, drop that ball, Josh Allen.
That ball came loose.
That's Diggs motioning across the formation. Allen looking the other way.
Gabe Davis diving try. And catch to the 40-yard line. And he hacks it through. Tied at 40 with 2 seconds left.
Yep, Andrew Booth is out, we're being told. Allen back to pass, in the pocket, to the end zone. Yes! It is intercepted by Patrick Peterson! And he slides down!
And in this heavyweight bout, the Vikings with the knockout blow. The Vikings win the game of the year.
Okay, travel to Mexico.
So this is microphone. Make sure to subscribe to his channel. This was actually also a fortunate part here about the CTE, and this former New England Patriot is possibly going to face life in prison, but it's crazy. I mean, it's no joke. It is no joke.
And was arrested as he was re-entering the United States. Former NFL player Sergio Brown is in police custody in connection with the death of his mother. Authorities ruled her death a homicide, and her son Sergio Brown is the prime suspect.
I've covered a lot of stories on this YouTube channel, and I can say with the utmost confidence that this might be one of the worst stories that I have ever covered. And I hope to God that there's no truth to this. I hope it's not true. It's not looking so good. Now, before we get to the content, make sure you drop a like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. Now that we get all that out of the way, sponsored by Pristine Auctions. If you don't know about PristineAuction.com, they're the most trusted sports memorabilia and collectibles auction site. Auctions on PristineAuction.com start at just $1, and each day there are over 1,000 autographed items. PristineAuction.com for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Oftentimes in the NFL, you'll see a player that just barely is able to sign on with a team and may hang around the NFL for a few seasons before he's out of the NFL for good. And in this particular instance, Sergio Brown falls into that caliber of player. Sergio Brown was a standout track and field athlete when he was in high school and played well enough to get a scholarship to the University of Notre Dame. But he wasn't productive enough to really impress any scouts, and as a result, when time came for him to declare for the NFL draft, he went undrafted. Luckily for him, he signed on to a team that was notorious for its ability to develop late-round draft picks or undrafted talent, and that's the New England Patriots. The craziest part is he was actually able to suit up for a Super Bowl as a result of this. He played with the New England Patriots from the 2010 to 2011 season, before moving on to the Indianapolis Colts for the 2012 season, played on the Colts for 2 years, then moved on to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then would play for the Atlanta Falcons and Buffalo Bills before calling it a career in 2016. Again, not necessarily the craziest career, but for his trouble, he was able to get himself $6.1 million throughout 7 seasons in the NFL. Not bad for someone that didn't necessarily play a significant amount of meaningful minutes, had a 6-year career in the NFL, and to be honest, didn't really seem to be too active in the NFL, because statistically speaking, this is a guy that was a career backup, and in about a 6-year career, he had 144 combined tackles, 2.5 sacks, and was able to come down with 1 interception. Again, not necessarily the biggest standout player, and there's many players like this in the NFL, and you wouldn't really hear much about Sergio Brown for quite some time, until recently. Now, I'm just going to give you guys a warning, this is where it gets really, really dark. Sergio Brown could have just took that $6.1 million, invested it wisely, and really leveraged that capital to set himself up for the rest of his life. Believe it or not, there's some people that don't make $6 million throughout the entirety of their careers. So making that sum of money is very, very impressive, especially for a career backup in the NFL. Now, about a month ago, we got a report from CBS News saying that Sergio Brown and his elderly mother both went missing from Maywood, Illinois about a month ago. And during the search, they actually found out what happened to the mother. Mother's gone. Her life has ended. But no one was able to find Sergio Brown at the time that that report came out. But things would take a very bizarre turn. As a few days after that report, Sergio Brown would post a video where he was speaking in, I honestly couldn't understand a word that he was saying. He definitely seemed like something was up with him. Check it out.
News. Fake news. Fake news. It has to be the FBI. They came into my house on Bob Marley's death day, which is 511 agent gas, unwarranted. They kidnapped me twice from home, the Maywood Police Department, right? Chris Football did it twice. Aaron Pepper was there the second time that it happened. It had to be the FBI or the Maywood Police. I thought, oh, I was on vacation in Central. That's fake news. My goddamn face. She retired. If you want to come to me, the Maywood Police got to give me money. FBI had to do it. They got the power to do like that. What the f is going on? That's fake news.
So definitely someone who doesn't seem all that there, and this definitely caused people to draw specific conclusions after seeing that video. I've covered the Kai Jones situation recently on my Flight Mike YouTube channel, where Kai Jones was behaving in a similar way. We've been covering the Chandler Jones storyline on this YouTube channel as well, so a lot of parallels to be drawn here of NFL players acting up a little bit. But in the case of Sergio Brown, again, he wasn't nearly as active, and therefore I'm going to draw the conclusion that he didn't take nearly as much contact because he wasn't in the NFL for nearly as long. And again, he was a career backup. Now, with that being said, this storyline took a much stranger turn, as on October 2nd, Sergio Brown would start tweeting. He started out by saying, "What lies behind you and what lies in front of you pales in comparison to what lies inside of you." Ralph Waldo Emerson. Some guy responded saying, "Didn't you end your mom's life?" Sergio Brown responded saying, "Wait, didn't they say I died at Mr. Brown's lounge or someone killed me before August 20th? Now, how does double jeopardy work with fake news? No, she is live well and on vacation. All of y'all." Kanye shrugs. Now some guy would actually fact check Sergio Brown saying, "How do you expect your brother paying tribute to your mom?" And Sergio Brown would respond saying, "My brother went to jail in July. How did he get out? He can't do that." So the reference that this guy is making is Sergio Brown's brother, Nick Brown, posted onto Instagram saying that his brother Sergio is still missing. "If anyone knows where he is, I want him to know that I love you and please come home." Jesus, man. I mean, I cannot imagine the pain this young man must be feeling. Nick Brown, I mean, just the allegations at this point that were levied against Sergio Brown were insane. But things would get even stranger from here. If a video of Sergio Brown trying to hide the fact that his mother was gone doesn't make you raise an eyebrow, if Sergio Brown's video of him him speaking in gibberish doesn't cause you to be concerned, what about a video of Sergio Brown partying in Tulum while the investigation into his mother is going down? This is a man that is quite literally turning up in Tulum, and he does not look like he's sober, by the way, for the record. He definitely seems like he doesn't even know where he is. I mean, just look at the way he's moving. We don't even need to go into details on this. There's no way in hell that this man is sober, and it's very obvious. But he's smiling, and he's happy, and not a care in the world. I mean, with all due respect, man, if someone's mother passes away, how the hell are you doing these things? Okay, cut it! No, we're not showing the rest of that. Okay, we're done. Sergio Brown's responses would get even more suspect. Someone said, "Didn't you end your mom's life?" He responded saying, "They found a man hanging in a tree too. I'm surprised they didn't say that was my mom as well." Which, oh my god, bro. So graphic. I mean, wow. Like, if you want to deny this, just a simple, "No, it's a horrible allegation," is all that would suffice, or maybe just ignoring it, assuming you didn't do it. For me personally, just even trying to create an image of his mother hanging in a tree, if he didn't do it, do you know what I mean? Like, if you were being accused of ending your mother's life, you're not going to say,
"Oh, they found someone hanging in a tree as well. I guess that's my mom too."
I wouldn't even want to imagine that if that was him, if I didn't do it. But he seems so desensitized to the fact that his mom is gone. I mean, look, some people are closer to their mothers than others, but I know people that have had horrific relationships with their mothers that are visually shaken up when they're gone. Possibly because of what could have been, possibly due to blame for them not being as involved as they could or not making a better effort, whatever the reason. I can't generalize everyone's relationship with their mother, but what I could say is that's a very, very suspect response. And here's what's even more shady. He gave multiple responses to that. No, that's fake news. I don't know what's going on. It's a lot of craziness going on in Maywood. I don't know how our names came up in anything, honestly. Some guy would also say, "How many pills are you taking a day, man? Seems like you are totally tripping." Man, the pills I got, I was in the NFL, as you heard, were compromised. I don't take any of that stuff anymore. I have been detoxing since 2020, and I appreciate the concern. Well, things would officially hit the fan as police would announce that they have arrested Sergio Brown under suspicion of him ending his mother's life. So, according to Maywood Police Department, on Tuesday, October 10th, 2023, Sergio Brown was taken into custody while re-entering the United States via San Diego from Mexico. San Diego Police Department Threat Management Unit, along with the local and federal agencies, took Mr. Brown into custody after a warrant was issued for first-degree murder for the death of his mother, Myrtle Brown. Currently, Mr. Brown is awaiting extradition to Maywood, Illinois to face charges of first-degree murder on Saturday, September 16, 2023, when family members and authorities were unable to locate Mrs. Myrtle Brown nor Sergio Brown. Both were considered missing persons. After a brief search of the residence that the two shared in Maywood, Illinois, Mrs. Myrtle Brown's body was found near a creek not far from the residence. Wow. I mean, just looking at this man's mugshot, you could tell that there is something very, very off with him. And the fact that he's smiling in this as well is just wow. I mean, if these allegations are true, this is one sick and demented individual. And I really hope to God that these allegations aren't true, man. That has got to be the worst thing that any family member of this individual has to hear. Imagine being his brother and hearing that Sergio Brown ended his mother's life. Just so horrible. And I really, really, really hope it's not true. The Brown family responded to this saying, "Our family is thankful that the Cook County State's Attorney's Office answered our call for urgent and immediate action in the case of our beloved Myrtle Jean Simmons Brown. They're also heartened by the news that Sergio Brown has been apprehended and returned to the United States unharmed. Our family is prayerful that as the investigation progresses, more answers will become available, shedding light on the circumstances surrounding this heartbreaking incident." Christian A. Conway, Esquire, family representative. Usually in these cases, man, usually in arrests, I try to rationalize things. Maybe I'll say that the player could have had the CTE. Maybe he's under some sort of substance. And, you know, that could very well be the case in the case of Sergio Brown, but there is nothing, this is assuming that these allegations are true, there's absolutely nothing that you could say I could rationalize something this terrible, and all I could do is pray for the Brown family, because this is, I cannot imagine a worse pain in life to endure than a loved one ending another loved one's life, and said loved one clearly being under the influence of something, or not seeming like himself, and said loved one looking deranged as an individual. So I'm just going to pray for the Brown family, man, and for the love of God, I really, really hope this isn't true. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about all this, man. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic. Until our next upload.
Make sure to subscribe, man.
Every NFL fan has the
last video, and then we're shutting it down.
To find the origin of Valak, the most feared demon in the Controverse lore to date, we must look to the legends passed down in one small town in Romania. The tales tell of a duke in the Dark Ages, which puts us somewhere between 500 and 1000 CE. He built a great castle, which would later be known as the Abbey of St. Carlo. Hidden in the dungeons was a summoning ground, carved with a serpentine symbol of a mythical being known as Valak. The people in town feared the duke, because he wrote countless texts on witchcraft and rituals to call upon these evil forces of hell. He would eventually use these spells to open the gateway between our world and the underworld. By sacrificing 5 people as a part of his spell, the duke would allow Valak to come through and walk amongst the living. But as Valak rose through the crevices, the church, who had caught wind of the foul things happening there, stormed the castle and interrupted the liturgy. They attempted to seal the gateway using liquid from the Holy Grail, and while this appeared to cause the portal to close back up, this seal would not last forever. To learn the secrets of Valak's past, the entity's true purpose, and what it represents for the story and the character's future, stick around to the end of this video. Welcome to Horror History. My name is Professor CZ's World, and you better pay attention this time, you little piece of shit. In today's lesson, we're going over what I consider to be the main boss of the Conjuring franchise. Like its counterpart Malthus from the Annabelle spin-offs, Valak is based on a mythological deity from the Lesser Key of Solomon, a series of grimoires on demonology. It's divided into 5 books, one of which is called Ars Goetia, a textbook guide to conjuring demons. In Annabelle, Ars Goetia was replaced with this textbook called The Devil's Welcome. But to learn about Valak, we need to turn the clock back even further and look into the pages of these mysterious texts found in a tomb just outside the Abbey of St. Carta. When the ancient books are discovered, we can see the outer cover of 3 of them. 2 of them have piercing yellow serpentine eyes, much like the eyes of Valak and anyone else the demon takes control of. This suggests that these books, unlike The Devil's Welcome, may specifically be about Valak. The snake eating its own tail symbol is commonly associated with Valak in the movie, but I'll come back to that shortly. In Ars Goetia, there are 72 demons said to have been commanded by the Israeli king Solomon. They range from kings, dukes, princes, marquises, knights, presidents, and earls. Valak is considered a president of hell. In the mythology, Valak looks a lot different than it does in the Conjuring movies, but there are some references to the mythological version that you may not have noticed in the movies. On one page of the book, there is a boy-like form with a snake coming out of its mouth. This is likely a reference to how Valak is depicted in the Lesser Key of Solomon, as an angelically winged boy riding on a 2-headed dragon. In the movies, Valak is a shapeshifter, whose form seems to change based on what makes its victims most uncomfortable. There's also this image. Valak is commonly associated with a snake. Serpent symbols can be found throughout the monastery, and there are multiple occasions where the demon is introduced as Valak, the defiler, the profane, the marquis of snakes. The bird is probably there to represent Malthus, an earl of hell in mythology, who you may know is the demon who's connected to the Annabelle doll. I did an entire video on the history of Malthus if you're interested. And that would also leave the question of who these other 2 horned demons are, perhaps other villains that we'll meet in future Conjuring movies. On another page, you'll see a more familiar sight, the nun form of Valak, which seems to be its favorite form to use, but there may be a reason that we see the nun form so often. On the side, you'll notice another picture of a snake eating its own tail. This is known as an Ouroboros, a mark seen in many ancient cultures as a symbol for the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. We don't exactly know what Valak's endgame is, but we know that it has a strong desire to possess, as explained in The Conjuring 2. Perhaps by possessing someone and moving into a new body, Valak feels a new sense of life, and the Ouroboros is a sign of a tendency to go from body to body, creating a cycle of new demonic possessions. The text written in the book isn't legible, but Father Burke does read some of it aloud, and I am going to roll it. So roll it.
And out of the ground formed every beast of the field, every bird of the sky, whatever the man called living creature that was. Its name.
This passage is part of the biblical text of Genesis 2:19, so I looked up the meaning of that passage and found the following. The act of naming something is meaningful in the book of Genesis. This often implies rule and responsibility over that thing. This may explain why Lorraine is eventually able to defeat Valak, but we'll get there when we get there. Now you may be thinking, this Valak guy sounds like kind of a bad dude going around and possessing people and crap. I mean, who would actually want to summon Valak? If we go back to the mythological readings of Ars Goetia, it describes the benefits of calling upon his malevolent forms. He perfectly locates hidden treasure and finds where serpents may be hiding, which he delivers onto the hands of the conjurer. Valak is void of any force or strength, but has dominion over 30 legions of devils. If this holds true for the Conjuring version of Valak, it explains why the Duke of St. Carta built this fortress and tried so hard to summon Valak there. He was driven by the allure of power and riches. The book also associates a sigil, or a symbol considered to have magical power, to each of the 72 demons. If you've seen Hereditary, you may recognize the necklace as an example of this. They don't lean too hard on this in The Conjuring, but I did notice that the summoning ground inside the abbey almost seems to resemble the sigil of Valak. But upon closer inspection, the outer ring is formed by a double Ouroboros. This image can be seen in one of the other books, next to a more traditional demonic form resembling a gargoyle. I've always assumed that this is Valak's true form, because it's also seen labeled as Valak on another page, and it seems to be the form used when Valak enters and eventually exits our world. That brings me back to the summoning ritual, which, as I mentioned, was thwarted by the church. They took over the castle and converted it into the abbey. The place was fully surrounded by crosses to keep the evil contained, and nuns prayed there continuously, working in shifts so that the place was constantly being blessed. Earlier, I called Valak the main boss of the Conjuring franchise, and this is why. Malthus from the Annabelle movies is considered one of the most powerful supernatural entities, but in order to keep it contained, the Warrens have a priest come twice a month to bless the room. To keep Valak contained, however, several nuns have to work together 24/7, and even this is only enough to hold the demon off for so long. One of them describes the bombs of war shaking the abbey and once again cracking open the gateway. I'm guessing that this was during World War II, and Romania was subject to air raids during that war. Romania was hit with air raids in 1943 and 1944, less than a decade before the main events of The Nun, which takes place in 1952. But ever since those bombs dropped, an unidentified nun began stalking the corridors of the abbey at night. But this nun was anything but holy. As perhaps the most powerful entity in the world of The Conjuring, with the ability to take on any form, why does Valak so often choose to become a simple nun? Why not a creepy clown, or mummy, or Coraline's mom? The answer lies in its setting.
It's something unholy. It takes on different forms to deceive us and prey on our weaknesses.
Valak uses the nun form to blend in with the order and eventually purge or corrupt each of them. This could be the reason that the nuns are generally never supposed to leave the abbey, so they cannot be a vessel for Valak's escape. It was likely just after Valak was released, but before they realized that Valak was among them and locked the place down, when Sister Charlotte visited the abbey. While she doesn't personally encounter Valak, she does have kind of a close call, since it seems to appear in the background of her photo. One by one, Valak picks off each of the remaining nuns until only 2 remain. They go into the dungeon area where the gateway is to try to retrieve a relic that they believe will save them. But when Valak quickly strikes down the elder of the 2, the lone survivor must give herself up so that the demonic presence does not have a vessel to escape it. Not long after, a delivery guy named Maurice, most people just call him Frenchie, discovers the remains, and word gets around to the Vatican that trouble is afoot in Romania. They send one of their best priests, Father Burke, and an inexperienced novitiate, or nun in training, named Irene Palmer to investigate. Valak watches them as they arrive, and somehow the scene of the incident is still fresh. Valak continues to haunt the premises, but the ghosts of the nuns that inhabited it still linger. So when Sister Irene and Father Burke speak to the Reverend Mother, the highest-ranking nun in the convent, I'm assuming that this is actually Valak, posing as the Reverend Mother, because the throne she's sitting on has an Ouroboros on it. She tells them that the nuns are about to take a vow of silence for the evening, but they can stay over and speak to them in the morning. This may be part of Valak's plan to try to eliminate Burke and possess Irene during the night. As Frenchie heads back to the town after escorting them, Valak uses a variety of scary forms to send him running, so that he's unlikely to want to come back for them, including this thing. If we're doing spin-offs on every character that appears, we gotta do this guy. Burke is awoken by what appears to be a boy he performed a failed exorcism on years ago. When he catches up to him, a snake slithers out of the boy's mouth and comes for Burke, knocking him back into an open casket, which becomes instantly buried by Valak's magic. Next, Sister Irene is lured out of bed into the chapel, where she sees the demon's shadow circle around her until it gets to the mirror, and appears in a corporeal form behind her, but only in the reflection, before it roars at her and shatters the mirror. Valak appeared to them each in different forms because it represents that which they have yet to overcome. For Burke, he hasn't stopped feeling guilty about the child he was unable to save, so Valak appears as that child to prey on his weakness. For Irene, it appears as the nun, because she hasn't made the commitment to take her vows yet. They are each confronted by a challenge that they have yet to overcome. Irene hears a bell ringing in the graveyard, signifying that Burke had been buried alive and was using his lifeline. You should learn from his example, and when you do, make sure you hit all notifications. The next morning, they come back to speak with the nuns, not realizing that there are none remaining, like N-O-N-E, none. I assume that Valak is the one to open the gate for them, and probably also the one to close it that evening, locking Irene inside for another night. As Father Burke studies the map, Valak, this time posing as the abbess, tells him that he won't find another way in.
It's too late, Father. Sister Irene is lost.
This also plays into Burke's fears, because he doesn't want Sister Irene to be the latest person he was unable to save. Valak grabs him, using the same decrepit hands that attacked him while he was trapped in the coffin, and they break off and crumble on the floor. He also encounters a zombified version of the boy that's been haunting him. His demonic hands protrude from the walls. When he reaches him, he has Valak's signature yellow eyes and a forked tongue, a trait commonly associated with the devil. Burke breaks free and runs for it, probably narrowly avoiding being possessed, and when he looks back, the ancient evil has reverted to its unnerving nun form. Meanwhile, Irene awakes from a nightmare and discovers a door that's labeled Finite Hic Deo, or God Ends Here. She too encounters Valak, who creates a turbulent windstorm in the hallway, and you already know what's coming. She gets air-yeeted across the hall, but she's rescued by the ghost of Sister Oana, and joins the others in a little midnight emergency prayer sesh. This is probably a scene that took place at some point in the 1940s, just after Valak had begun coming after the lives of these nuns, and we're just seeing a slightly altered version of it that includes Sister Irene, but since I don't know that 100%, I'm keeping it here in the chronology. I'm also not really clear on if the prayers of the ghost nuns would actually help hold the seal at all, but we can at least say that them encouraging Sister Irene to pray would have some effect, because Sister Irene is real. It doesn't come without cost though, because Valak makes like that goth girl you did in college and scratches a pentagram into her back. Burke and Frenchie team up against a reanimated version of Sister Victoria. Based on what we know from Ed and Lorraine's various lectures, this isn't possession, because the demon would need a soul in order to possess someone, and that would defeat the purpose of Sister Victoria's sacrifice. So what's probably going on here is that Valak is just moving around her body, the same way that Malthus moves around the Annabelle doll.
He was moved around to give the impression of possession.
Anyway, they catch up with Sister Irene, who finally realizes the nun she's been talking to were only an apparition.
There's no one left. We have our answer, Father. As if there was any doubt before, this place is no longer home.
Valak next encounters them in the dungeon area, beyond the door with the Latin text translating to God Ends Here. This area represents hell within the monastery, so it's fitting that this should be where their final battle with Valak takes place. They split up to search for the gates, because, you know, that's the best plan in the horror movie. And Sister Irene enters one of the rooms, and Valak appears in the form of a, what's the word for a group of nuns? Like a horde? Or a flock? Okay, I looked it up. Apparently it's called a superfluity, which was definitely not the word I was looking for, whatever. We'll just call it a crowd of nuns. Each of them has their faces covered, and they're able to overcome Irene and possess her.
You failed. Just as you failed in what you left. Tomorrow, I'll finish what I'm missing, you idiot.
Irene's apparent possession does not last long, as Frenchie kicks down the door and encounters the possessed Irene, who air-yeets him into a pillar. We've seen a lot of air-yeeting in this franchise, and really just in this era of horror in general, but that one looks kind of painful. However, Sister Irene still has the Holy Grail hanging around her neck, and Frenchie is able to smear some of it onto Irene, which immediately exorcises the demon. We've seen characters use incantations, holy water, and crosses as part of the exorcism process, but this is by far the most effective and powerful method. Obviously, there's going to be a very limited supply though, so from a balance perspective, this doesn't break the game in favor of the good guys. Valak reverts back to the nun form and grabs hold of Frenchie after sending Irene flying out of the room, and he becomes the next victim of Valak's possession. This is the only time we see Valak possess someone on screen, and it's different from any of the possessions we've seen in other Conjuring Universe movies. The other entities possess a person by basically puking this black stuff into their mouth. I mean, I don't really know how else to describe it, but with Valak, we see a snake slither out of its mouth and into Frenchie's. There's also an image of this in one of the Deuce books. The reason I bring this up is that it connects back to the idea that I mentioned earlier, that the Ouroboros is always associated with Valak as a sign of the cycle of demonic possessions as the demon goes from person to person. All evidence points to these demons being able to essentially split themselves to be able to do multiple things at once. So while Valak was incubating inside Frenchie's body, the nun form could continue to terrorize Irene and Burke by rising out of the water that now covered the gateway and attempting to drown Irene. Burke tried to send the demonic entity back to hell, but was overcome by its power. So it's ultimately Irene who tricks Valak by pretending to offer the Holy Grail, perhaps the biggest bane that still threatened the creature, and instead spitting its contents out onto the unholy being, causing it to be torn apart as the gateway to hell appears to close. The fact that she defeats it by spitting is significant, because there had long been a superstition in the nearby village that they should spit on the ground whenever the cursed abbey is mentioned. Sister Irene's victory also makes sense. Valak was still attacking her in its nun form, probably not realizing that she had taken her vows shortly before. Irene was no longer afraid of this religious commitment, so the appearance of the nun would no longer intimidate her. But this wouldn't be the last time that Valak would utilize this appearance. The demon lies dormant inside of Frenchie's body and uses it as a vessel to break free out of the circle of crosses that surrounded the abbey. The evil was no longer contained to a singular location. It would continue to incubate within him as he eventually settled down and got married, at which point the symptoms of his possession made themselves noticeable. In 1970, help was called in. Frenchie is diagnosed by a pair of paranormal investigators named Ed and Lorraine Warren. Lorraine is most likely the sister, or at least a very close relative of Sister Irene, given that Irene is from Bridgeport, Connecticut, the same place that Lorraine was born. They also both have clairvoyant visions, and that ability seems to be hereditary. Lorraine's daughter exhibits the trait as well. When Ed and Lorraine meet Frenchie, it's one of the worst possessions they've ever seen. He's speaking in fluent Latin, despite having a third-grade education, and inverted crosses can be seen emanating from under his skin. The couple assisted on the exorcism, and since Lorraine was a medium, it took a huge toll on her. So much that she locked herself away for 8 days and never spoke about the experience for many years. It's possible that Valak wanted revenge on the family after Irene burned it so badly in Romania, and it wouldn't be done with them quite yet. We never find out if this exorcism was successful, but we do know that the results were grim for Frenchie and his family. In 1976, Lorraine has a vision containing Valak while investigating an unrelated case in Long Island, and the experience contributed to making it one of the most haunting cases of her career.
This is as close to hell as I ever want to get.
With Frenchie no longer around, Valak searched for a new target. There were probably other possessions that took place between Frenchie's demise in 1970 and the happenings in Enfield, England in 1977, but so far they have not been documented in any movie. The best targets for a demon are those who are weak of faith, as we learned from Sister Charlotte in Annabelle Creation. And one thing that can cause a person's faith to weaken is distress in their family life.
The timing isn't a coincidence. Negative entities often feed off emotional distress.
So Valak's next target is the Hodgson family, who recently lost their father when he ran away and had twins with the woman from down the street. They most likely opened themselves up to the poltergeist when sisters Janet and Margaret used the spirit board to ask a vulnerable question.
Is Dad ever coming home?
As we know, thanks to other controversial entries, reaching out to the spirit world to try to get information or talk to a loved one can be dangerous, because doing so is essentially inviting an inhuman spirit into your life. The inhuman spirit may...
You bring in a spirit board, you're asking for trouble to happen immediately. Like, come on, dude.
Trick the victim, making him or her think that they're talking to the spirit of a person, when in fact they're talking to a malevolent entity. So asking if their dad is coming home told Valak that this family is already struggling on an emotional level, and they would be the perfect targets. But after nearly being defeated by Irene, Valak wanted to operate in secrecy this time. So instead of haunting the family directly, it took hold of the ghost of a man named Bill Wilkins, making it seem like Bill was the one terrorizing the family. During the middle of the night, Janet is transported downstairs in front of the chair that Bill Wilkins passed on. As taught by Ed Warren, the OG horror history teacher before emo Abraham Lincoln took over, there are 3 stages of demonic activity.
Infestation, oppression, and possession.
The Hodgsons began to experience the symptoms of infestation. Janet was terrorized in her dreams, and Valak forced her to sleepwalk, sleep talk, and sleep hawk. Wait, no, not sleepwalk. You can go back to sleepwalk. But Valak would do other stuff, like manifest the image of Bill Wilkins to scare them, move around toys and objects to give the impression that these items are possessed, intimidate them with voices in the night, and mess with the TV, or as they called it,
the telly.
This is also another example of Valak using reflections to scare a victim, just like it did to Sister Irene in the chapel. At this point, the activity escalates to Stage 2, oppression. This involves shaking beds, slamming doors, bite marks, flying furniture, and other very clear-cut paranormal mayhem. The family flees the house in the middle of the night and brings in outside help. Police officers, reporters, videographers, passers-by, and others all experience the phenomenon. It is around this time that a strange occurrence goes down back in the US that could suggest that we may see Valak again in a future Conjuring installment. While Valak was making the Hodgson family more miserable in the United Kingdom, Lorraine was growing more paranoid over in the United States. Ed had seen Valak in a dream, which caused him to create a painting of the creepy nun, and Lorraine would have a vision of her own. There's also a scene where Judy is frozen by the disturbing image of Valak, though it's not entirely clear if this was all part of Lorraine's vision, or if they both were able to see Valak. I have the sense that Judy does see Valak, though, because the name appears multiple times in her artwork. Lorraine would also discover the demon's name in her own vision.
I want my MTV!
As the Enfield poltergeist gets more and more attention in the media, Valak would hide behind the ghost of the old man, Bill Wilkins. From my understanding of the events, it essentially used Bill as a shield, commanding his voice and in some cases his appearance, and this also made it so that Valak's demonic energy would not be picked up on by media. Listen to the way that Janet would eventually describe the phenomenon.
Does it feel like it's coming from inside you?
No. More like it's coming from behind me. Like I'm being used.
But Bill was not the only facade that the inhuman spirit would use to its advantage. The Hodgson's youngest son, Billy, has a zoetrope toy that tells the nursery rhyme of the Crooked Man. Billy used to sing along with it in order to work on improving his speech impediment, but he never quite overcame it. Valak tends to use the form of whatever its subject has not overcome. So when Billy is alone, Valak appears to him as the Crooked Man. What's not entirely explained is if the Crooked Man once existed as a separate entity, like Bill Wilkins, or if it was just Valak taking the form that it saw in the toy. I'm guessing the Crooked Man is a separate entity, though, based on this line from Ed.
The old man, the crooked man, they're just facades, trying to keep us from seeing the real evil in it.
I don't think Valak would risk exposing itself when it had kept its involvement a secret for so long. The demon would not want the church finding out and sending people in to destroy it. You'll notice that it never uses the nun form until Lorraine shows up. The in-universe explanation is that Valak used the nun to attack Lorraine's faith, which was shaken by this encounter that scared her so much all of those years ago. Director James Wan explained the decision further in an Instagram post. During editing, I deemed this beautifully designed and sculpted horned demon too out of left field for the film. It needed to be more grounded and personal, something that would take Lorraine's faith and try to test/corrupt it. I remember the real-life Lorraine Warren talking about her love and reverence for her nun friends, and a light bulb went off. Thus, the demon nun was born. So we went back and replaced all of the horned demon scenes with the nun during additional photography. Many of the Hodgson's neighbors donated crosses that were hung up all around Janet and Margaret's room in hopes that this could weaken the evil and prevent objects from moving around, but unlike the circle of crosses at the Abbey in Romania, this is not enough to contain Valak. The case would eventually gain enough notoriety that the church decides to send Ed and Lorraine across the sea to see what's up. When they arrive, Valak remembers them and hopes to get Bill to scare them away.
It said it wants to hurt you.
When did it say that?
Right now.
On December 21st, 1977, they perform a test to see if the spirit haunting the house was speaking through Janet or if she was just making the noises on her own. They're unable to determine that it was all Janet, but Lorraine is still skeptical because she doesn't sense any presence in the house. That night, Janet is transported in her sleep to the first floor ceiling where she sees old man Bill sitting up on his chair. He gets up and goes upstairs. Then she's pulled upwards into her room, the room where most of the paranormal instances had taken place. Valak's presence causes all of the crosses in the room to invert, and Janet encounters old man Bill, who has the yellow glowing eyes of the demon. Ed and Lorraine get into the room in time to rescue Janet from being suffocated at the foot of a window curtain. A day later, on the 22nd, Ed helps fix the floor in the basement of the house where Valak rises again. It first looks as if it's going to attack Ed, and I surmise this is in order to lure Mrs. Hodgson into the flooded area where it can then attack and bite her in the arm. This attack strategy isn't random. Valak wants to freak out the family and isolate them by making it look like they're just making the whole thing up. When Ed finds the retainer with the teeth, or as they call them in the UK, teeth, that line up with the bite mark on Peggy's arm, he's going to question if it was placed there by a supernatural entity or if it was planted there by Peggy herself to sell the story. That is the reason that Valak has everyone turn away while Janet is making demonic voices, and the reason that the only convincing proof of a demonic infestation happens while nobody from outside the household is present. This leads into the next part of Valak's plan. The house is readied up with video recording equipment, hoping to catch some of the supernatural happenings on tape. But Valak plays it smart. It knows that it's managed to trick Lorraine up to this point by hiding behind the ghost of Bill Wilkins undetected. But if proof of the poltergeist is captured, Ed and Lorraine will take it back to the church, and they'll send in a bunch of their people, just as they did at the Abbey of St. Carta. So instead, the demon devises a plan to put a stop to the investigation. It tells Janet she has to create a fake paranormal incident in front of the cameras, threatening to kill her family if she doesn't comply. So she does just that, sticking knives into the table, throwing and destroying furniture, and smashing all the dishes in the kitchen. The audio guy picks up a strange sound, which they trace to Janet, who is mangled in an electrical closet where she speaks Bill's voice, saying more nonsensical phrases. The whole incident was recorded by a paranormal skeptic, the psychologist named Anita Gregory, who is happy to have found proof that the Hodgsons were faking the haunting. Once the tape gets out, the public gains the impression that everything was a hoax, and all the investigators and reporters clear out, once again giving the family, and more importantly, Valak, their privacy back. Luckily for the Hodgsons, Ed figures out that Bill Wilkins was trying to covertly send a message by overlapping the two audio recordings. Upon hearing this, Lorraine has another vision, where she speaks to the real Bill Wilkins and gains an understanding of the true nature of Valak's presence for the first time. Lorraine has another vision, or perhaps this one is more of an astral projection of her in the Green Street house, where she speaks to the real Bill Wilkins, uncorrupted by the evil manipulation of Valak for the first time. He tells her that he came here to see his family, but he can't go because it wants her so badly. Breaking this down, Bill is saying that he entered the world of spirits instead of moving on to heaven because he thought he would be able to see his deceased family members. But he discovered they were not there, and he wanted to go on, but Valak would not let go of him, because Valak wanted to use him as a piece of its plan to possess Janet's soul. When Lorraine asks how to stop it, Bill leaves her with a riddle. I am given and I am taken. I was there at your first breath, but you didn't ask for me, but I will follow you to your death. Before she can figure it out, Valak appears and essentially breaks up the mental connection. And this is the first time that Lorraine has been able to sense the inhuman spirit that her family member had gone up against decades before. The answer to Bill's riddle is a name. A name is given at birth, a name is taken by people throughout your life to identify you. You don't ask for a name, but it follows you to your death. The one part of the riddle that would have been misleading for me is the line, I was there at your first breath, because that's not always the case. I think a lot of couples name their baby after it is born. Maybe Bill should have said, I was there at your first birthday party or something. So Lorraine's realization that she needs a name to have dominion over Valak goes back to the Genesis passage that I mentioned earlier. It is man's ability to name something that gives man power over that thing. Anyway, as Ed and Lorraine rush back to the house, Valak is now on a full-on reign of terror. Stage 2 of demonic activity is oppression, and judging how this stage is getting worse and worse for the family, I can only assume that Valak is getting very close to stage 3, possession. It seems like it was even already starting to possess Janet for short periods of time, if that's a possibility. When the Warrens arrive, Peggy is locked out of the house in a full state of panic. Ed tries to break in through the front window, and the demon hurls the couch across the room to block his entry. So he goes around to the back to go through the laundry room and break in from under the floorboards. But once inside, Valak locks the door, effectively separating him from Lorraine. The entity messes with the pipes and scalds Ed's face with piping hot water, partially blinding him. But he's able to hobble his way to the upstairs bedroom where Janet is about to walk out of an open window and impale herself on the spiky tree stump that waits below. I'm not entirely sure why Valak would do this, since we've kind of established that when someone dies, a demon can no longer possess them, and it's pretty clear that Valak's main goal is to possess her. But as I have in other videos, I'll attempt to justify why Valak might have behaved like this. In Annabelle, we saw in the book The Devil's Welcome that Valak and Malthus are just two of the many demons detailed that all answer to Belial, who is basically the leader of all demons. We can even see Valak's symbol, the Ouroboros, appear way back in that movie. We've also seen in both Annabelle and The Nun that summoning these demons from hell usually involves making a human sacrifice, along with some kind of spell. Maybe this was all part of Valak's plan to summon another demonic presence, possibly Belial. Ed catches her before this can happen, but this leaves him at risk to fall out of the window himself. Lorraine comes in and finds Valak standing in the corner as Ed tries to reel in Janet. She runs to save Ed, but Valak's scream easily sends her flying backwards into the wall. However, she uses the demon's name to gain dominion over it. Upon saying this, Valak appears to crumble, and when the rain condemns it back to hell, it breaks down even further, revealing its true form to her for the first and only time, before shrinking down into a void and disappearing. This would be the last confirmed interaction that the Warrens have with Valak. However, this may not mean the character is gone for good. As I mentioned, Valak takes on more than one persona during the 1977 Enfield Poltergeist saga. So, one of these facades was the manifestation of a nursery rhyme called the Crooked Man. After many of the Warrens' cases, they bring home a trinket and put it in their room of cursed objects. Ed describes these objects as being bearers of evil spirits, almost like keeping a genie in a bottle. For the Enfield case, they bring home Johnny's Crooked Man Zoetrope. If Valak went back to hell, I'm guessing the Crooked Man is the one trapped inside this toy. That seems to leave things open for another evildoer to stumble upon the evocation books left behind by the Duke of St. Carta and summon Valak to once again cross the threshold and terrorize our world. Regardless of what the future holds, I'll be sure to cover it here. If you want to explore the complete histories of other entities found in the Conjuring universe, go ahead and check out that playlist on the left. And remember to subscribe, it's easy as one.
Remember to subscribe and remember to subscribe to mine too. And I will be ending the stream now. And make sure to subscribe, and then fingers crossed it goes on YouTube tomorrow.